time I'll call to order the September 17, 2024 meeting of the Clearwater City Council. If you wish to address the council tonight on an agenda item, please complete a comment card. Comment cards are located by the clerk seated to the right of the dais. When called to speak, please hand your card to the clerk. And as always, we ask, folks who been here before, you have your 3 minutes to say whatever you want to say. We just ask that you be respectful of the other folks here, particularly the audience, the other citizens are here, and with your comments and your behavior while you're in this meeting. With that, we will move to item 2 on the agenda, our invocation. Tonight, I'd like to call forward Father Bob Swick from St. Francis Assisi, and ask you to remain standing after he delivers the invocation for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I don't think he's here.
Is he here?
He's not here.
Well, with that, I'll lead the invocation. I don't see Father Swick, so please bow your heads. Father, thank you for allowing us to gather here tonight in this great country, which allows us to assemble and to conduct city's business. And we're thankful for everyone here tonight and guide us and lead us here on this dais and this city, all the city leadership, including our thousands of city employees, as we do our best to do the best for this city. Give us all judgment and patience tonight as we go through the agenda, and allow us to have respect for others and kindness in all that we say and do. All this we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time, I'd like to introduce our dais. To my far left is our city clerk, Rosemary Call.
Good evening.
To her right is our city attorney, David Margolis.
Good evening.
To his right is Councilman Mike Menino.
Good evening.
To his right is Vice Mayor David Albritton.
Good evening.
To my right is Councilmember Lena Teixeira.
Good evening.
To her right is Councilmember Ryan Cotton.
Good evening.
To his right is our city manager, Jennifer Poirier.
Good evening.
And to her right is Assistant City Manager, Dan Slaughter. That will move to item 4.1 on the agenda, Service Awards. This time I'd like to call forward Tabitha Green from our Library Division. Tonight, we're congratulating Tabitha on her 10 years of service as an employee of the City of Clearwater. Congratulations, Tabitha. Congratulations, and watch your step.
Congratulations.
Watch your step. This time I'd like to call forward Jacqueline Lewis from our gas department. And tonight we're celebrating Jacqueline's 15 years as an employee of the City of Clearwater. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Jack. An extra hand.
Watch your step. The next item we have is our bi-monthly team award for September, October 2024, the Days Inn Rescue. At this time, I'd like to call forward Lieutenant Fred Morris, Patrick Curry, Mason St. Martin, and Christopher Collins.
This crew were
responding to a call where a 9-year-old autistic child was having an extreme mental crisis. The child had locked his mother and his little brother and his mother's friend out of their hotel room. The mother advised the reason they were in the hotel was due to a roofing issue that the landlord would not fix. They had to go somewhere that it was not leaking. The mother stated that the son would not take his medication and was acting out inside the room by throwing things. After about 20 minutes, Mason St. Martin and Chris Collins were able to de-escalate the situation by talking to the child and coaching him to calm down. Collins and Martin were even able to get the child to take his medication that he was initially refusing to do so. While in the room, Lieutenant Morris recognized that the mother was having a hard time maintaining her emotions as well. It seemed that everything was falling apart around her, and she was struggling to take care of the 2 children. The room was in disarray, and it was apparent that she needed help. After the crew assured that all medical needs were taken care of, they took the entire family out to show them the engine, how it worked, and how each one of them had a job to do. They did this to show the family what a team looks like and talk to them about how their family is a team. Then, without hesitation, Patrick Curry took it upon himself to pay for an extra week at the hotel for the family. He did this so that the family had a safe and dry place to stay, ensuring that the well-being of not only the parent but the entire family was met. This is a classic example of a team that is showing off how we support the strategic plan in so many ways. First, it exemplifies community well-being by ensuring exceptional community and neighborhoods on how we care about our citizens. Secondly, it truly promotes high-performing government by fostering safe and healthy communities in Clearwater through first-class public safety and emergency response services. Finally, let's talk about their superior public service. This team demonstrated the city's commitment to attracting and retaining top talent. Thank you all so very much.
Appreciate
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefan.
We'll rescue you.
This time I'd like, we'll move to item 4.2 on the agenda, Constitution Week 2024 proclamation. At this time, I'd like to call forward Sharon Jank from the Clearwater Chapter Regent of DAR to accept this proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor Rector and Councilmen and Councilwomen. For almost 100 years, Clearwater Chapter DAR has been established in Clearwater, and we sure do thank you for recognizing Constitution Week every year that we can. And we have someone here that is on our Defense Committee, and she also has more good news that you all are working on and approved for our chapter as well. Mary Jo Gibson.
Thank you. We'd like to thank the City of Clearwater and the Parks and Recreation Department for their assistance. April 19th, 2025 will mark 250 years from the start of the Revolutionary War. So our national headquarters has a marker that's been issued, a bronze marker that we are seeking to place at Crest Lake Park at the Veterans Memorial Plaza there. And with the assistance of the Park and Recreation Department, we're in the process of getting that ordered and placed. So we'd like to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Once again, on behalf of the chapter, thank you for recognizing Constitution Week.
Very good. I'll read the proclamation now, and then we invite you up front for a photograph. Whereas September 17, 2023 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and whereas it is appropriate and proper to recognize the significance of this document upon its anniversary with the patriotic celebrations and readings, and whereas all citizens should not only appreciate but also preserve and defend the principles of American government as expressed in the Constitution. Now therefore, I, Bruce Rector, Mayor of the City of Clearwater, Florida, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim September 17th to the 23rd, 2024, to be Constitution Week in Clearwater. Thank you for coming tonight. Be a little careful, we got a little left, yeah. Thank you for coming tonight, yeah. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate what you all do.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Gentlemen, hey, you're not allowed, you're disrupting the meeting, okay? I'm gonna ask that you leave the meeting. You're refusing to leave the meeting? Okay. I'm gonna ask that you leave the meeting. You're disrupting the meeting. You're disrupting the meeting. I'm gonna ask you to leave. You refuse to cooperate, and I'm asking to leave the meeting. Yeah, he needs to go. Oh, yeah. This time we'll reconvene the meeting and we'll move to item 4.3 on the agenda, the National Suicide Prevention Month proclamation. And I'll call forward Barbara Dare, Jean-Pierre of the Suicide Partners of Pinellas to present this proclamation to them. Thank you for being here tonight. I'll read the proclamation now. Whereas the week of September 8th through the 14th, 2024 was National Suicide Prevention Week, and September 2024 is National Suicide Prevention Month, a time during which individuals, organizations, and communities join their voices to amplify the message that suicide can be prevented. And whereas these observances are united in raising awareness that prevention is possible, treatment is effective, and people do recover. And whereas the Zero Suicide Framework emphasizes that even one life lost to suicide is too many. And whereas it is essential that we educate and encourage relatives, friends, coworkers, and providers about the signs of suicidal ideation, and that it affects all people in the community. And whereas the Zero Suicide Partners of Pinellas, led by Suncoast Center, Inc., unites community members and organizations with the common mission to end suicide in Pinellas County. Now therefore, I, Bruce Rector, Mayor of the City of Clearwater, Florida, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim September 2024 as National Suicide Prevention Month, and urge all citizens to join me in doing what they can by being kind, curious, and connected to end suicide in Clearwater. Thank you for being here tonight and for bringing attention to this very important issue. It's a crisis throughout the United States, but definitely here in Florida and in Pinellas County. And my personal experience, it doesn't get enough attention. So thank you for the work you do to help prevent suicide in our city and our county, and for bringing attention to this important issue. Anyone like to say a word before we?
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Pierre. I'm the incoming president and CEO of the Suncoast Center, and I would just like to express my gratitude and appreciation for the recognition for the hard work that the team is doing day in, day out to save lives.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Watch your step.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you, sir. Watch your step.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Watch your step. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Thank you for your work. Watch your step.
Okay, very good.
Oh, picture?
All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, there you go.
This time we'll move to item 4.4, National Hispanic Heritage Month Proclamation. At this time, I'd like to call forward Micah Julian, Yurimar Garcia from the Hispanic Outreach Center, and Karen Swafford from the Diversity Leadership Council. Whereas each year Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the history, culture, and countless contributions of those ancestors who were indigenous to North America, as well as those who came from Mexico, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Spain, and the nations of Central and South America. And whereas observation of Hispanic Heritage Week started in 1968 under President Lyndon B. Johnson, and in 1988 was extended to a 30-day celebration by President Ronald Reagan, starting on September 15 and ending on October 15, 1988. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month uplifts a cultural legacy that shares values deeply rooted in rich traditions that harbor a deep commitment to family and community, an enduring work ethic, and a perseverance to succeed and contribute to society. And whereas Hispanics have enhanced and shaped our national character with centuries-old traditions that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs of their communities, while adding their own distinct and dynamic perspectives to the story of our country. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Rector, Mayor of the City of Clearwater, Florida, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim September 15 through October 15, 2024 as National Hispanic Heritage Month in Clearwater. This observance affords special opportunities to learn more about Hispanic heritage and to honor the many Hispanic Americans who have contributed to our great nation. Thank you for being here. I know Clearwater has a lot of activities over the coming month and to celebrate Hispanic heritage and the contributions that Hispanic Americans have made to our country. So Would someone like to say a word tonight?
Thank you. On behalf of the Hispanic Outreach Center and community, we accept this proclamation with appreciation and gratitude. The Hispanic Outreach Center continues our mission to serve our growing, diverse community, and we really appreciate the City of Clearwater, the mayor, and the community for the support and recognition. So, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Rector and City Council members. My name is Karen Swafford with Human Resources, and I'm joined by our Diversity Leadership Council members. It is an honor to be a part of the ceremony and acceptance of the National Hispanic Heritage Proclamation. At this time, I would like to introduce and invite Carla Dees with the Diversity Leadership Council up to say a few words on behalf of the committee.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. On behalf of city employees, I would like to thank you for recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month and celebrating the many contributions of Hispanic and Latinos to the Clearwater community. Clearwater will not be as bright as beautiful without the Hispanic community's inclusion. Thank you so much. I'm going to translate that in Spanish, if you don't mind. Buenas noches, alcalde y concejales. En nombre de los empleados de la ciudad, me gustaría agradecerles por reconocer el mes de la herencia hispana y celebrar las muchas contribuciones de los hispanos y latinos a la comunidad de Clearwater. Clearwater no sería tan brillante y hermosa sin la inclusión de la comunidad hispana. Thank you very much.
Watch your step.
Thank you so much.
Watch your step.
Thank you.
Watch your step.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Watch your step.
Thank you so much.
Watch your step.
Thank you.
I want you to tell me.
A photograph? Sure.
Watch your step.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move to item 5.1 on the agenda.
Make your motion to approve item 5.1, approval of the minutes.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. This time we'll move to item 6 on the agenda, which is our consent agenda, and we've had a request to remove all items from it.
Yes, and also just for clarification for the people in the audience, because we have the millage on the agenda, so all items on consent will actually be heard after 7.8, so it'll be after public hearing items.
Okay. That will move to item 7.1 on the agenda.
Adopt ordinance 9792-24 on second reading, declaring the millage rate to be levied for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30, 2025, for operating purposes, including the funding of pensions, debt service, and road maintenance for capital improvement expenditures at 5.8850 mils, which is 6.81% increase from the rollback rate of 5.5099 mils.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kayleen Castle, Budget Director. This is the final public hearing required by Florida statute to finalize the fiscal year 24-25 operating capital improvement budget. To quickly recap the budget process that we've been through so far, the proposed budget was posted on the city's website, available to the public on June 28th. A formal presentation was given to at the City Council meeting on July 15th, where the tentative millage rate was set. Also, council had the opportunity to further discuss the budget at a special work session on August 14th. And finally, a formal presentation was given at our last council meeting, which was our first public hearing on September 4th. This first item is the final approval of the millage ordinance to adopt a millage rate of 5.8850 mils to support operating and capital improvement budgets for fiscal year 24-25. There is no change to the millage rate you are approving tonight. It's the same rate as levied in the last 2 fiscal years. Due to growth in taxable property values, this rate is 6.81% greater than the rolled back rate. And as a reminder, the rolled back rate is the millage rate that would provide the city the same revenue as received in the prior year. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on this item.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.1?
Good evening, Patrick Raftery, Countryside, Mayor, council members, and city staff. I just want to make a brief comment relative to the comment about the millage rate remaining the same, which is very true for the last 2 years. However, for myself and all residents of Clearwater, because of the rise in property values, our property taxes have gone up. In my case, reasonably slightly, and I will take care of that. I plan to take the funds from my Christmas fund set aside for my wife. Just don't say anything to her about that. Seriously, though, each year, when we do maintain the millage rate the same, because of the property values, our taxes go up a bit. We can look at our trim notices and see where that happens. The reason I'm bringing this up is that we need to be focused on the property taxes for all of our residents, and most importantly, at some point, the funding that's needed for capital projects and work on behalf of the city of Clearwater that's needed, we will not be able to sustain that funding through property taxes. So just to bring that to your attention and to remind you of that fact. Thank you very much.
Does anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 7.1? Seeing none, we need a reading, I believe.
One moment, please. Do you have it?
Yeah. Ordinance number 9792-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, declaring the millage rate to be levied for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30, 2025, for operating purposes including the funding of pensions, debt service, and road maintenance for capital improvement expenditures at 5.8850 mils, providing an effective date. The levy of 5.8850 mils constitutes a 6.81% increase from the rollback rate of 5.5099 mils.
This time, is there any council discussion on this agenda item? Hearing seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 7.1.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7.2.
Adopt ordinance 9793-24 on second reading, adopting an operating budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30, 2025, authorizing the city manager to issue such instructions that are necessary to achieve and accomplish the service program so authorized, authorizing the city manager to transfer monies and programs among the departments and activities within any funds as provided by Chapter 2 of the Clearwater Code of Ordinances.
This is for the final approval of the ordinance to adopt the operating budget for fiscal year 24-25. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions you have on the operating budget.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.2? Hearing, no? Hearing and seeing none, can we get a reading?
Having some technical difficulties, as is occasionally the case. Okay, ordinance number 9793-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, adopting an operating budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025. Authorizing the city manager to issue such instructions that are necessary to achieve and accomplish the service programs so authorized, authorizing the city manager to transfer monies and programs among the departments and activities within any fund as provided by Chapter 2 of the Clearwater Code of Ordinances, providing an effective date.
Is there any council discussion on this item? Hearing seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 7.2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7.3.
Adopt ordinance 9794-24 on second reading, adopting the capital improvement program budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30, 2025. Approving the six-year capital improvement program, which shall be reevaluated at the beginning of each fiscal year. Authorizing the city manager to issue such instructions that are necessary to achieve and accomplish the capital improvements so authorized. Authorizing the city manager to transfer money between projects in the capital improvement program. Appropriating available and anticipated resources for projects identified.
This is for the final approval of the ordinance to adopt the capital improvement budget for fiscal year 24-25. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.3? Hearing, seeing none, is there any council, we need a reading on this one. Could we get a reading?
Ordinance number 9794-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, adopting the capital improvement program budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30, 2025. Approving the six-year capital improvement program, which shall be reevaluated at the beginning of each fiscal year. Authorizing the city manager to issue such instructions that are necessary to achieve and accomplish the capital improvements so authorized. Authorizing the city manager to transfer money between projects in the capital improvement program, appropriating available and anticipated resources for the projects identified, providing an effective date.
Seeing any council discussion on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 7.3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7.4.
Amend the city's fiscal year 2023-24 operating capital improvement budgets at third quarter and pass ordinances 9795-24 and 9796-24 on first reading.
This is for the third quarter and final budget review for the fiscal year 23-24 budget. I went over the report in detail with you yesterday at the work session. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.4? Seeing and hearing none, is there any council discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Wait, there's
item
there's two
7.4.
ordinances.
We need
Just
to read
kidding.
two. We need to read two ordinances here.
Ordinance number 9795-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the operating budget for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2024 to reflect increases and decreases in revenues and expenditures for the general fund, stormwater fund, solid waste fund, and recycling fund, general services fund, garage fund, central insurance fund, special development fund, and special program fund as provided herein, providing an effective date. Ordinance number 9796-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the capital improvement budget for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2024 to reflect an increase of $43,459,106, providing an effective date.
Okay, now is there a discussion? Hearing, seeing none, is there a motion?
I will make a motion to approve item 7.4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7.5.
Approve the annexation initial future land use map designation of residential low and initial zoning atlas designation of low medium density residential district for 1721 El Trinidad Drive East and pass ordinances 9776-24, 9777-24, and 9778-24 on first reading.
Good evening, Gina Clayton, Planning and Development. This is a voluntary annexation request for a single-family home on El Trinidad Drive East, which is north of 590. They are requesting annexation in order to receive sanitary sewer service and solid waste service. Staff is recommending approval as they meet the criteria outlined in the code for annexation.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.5? Seeing and hearing none, could we get a reading?
Ordinance number 9776-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real property located on the east side of El Trinidad Drive, east approximately 400 feet north of State Road 590, whose post office address is 1721 El Trinidad Drive East, Clearwater, Florida 33759, into the corporate limits of the city and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date. Ordinance number 9777-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the core comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real property located on the east side of El Trinidad Drive East, approximately 400 400 feet north of State Road 590, whose post office address is 1721 El Trinidad Drive East, Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation to the City of Clearwater's residential low RL, providing an effective date. And ordinance number 9778-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real property located on the east side of El Trinidad Drive East, approximately 400 feet north of State Road 590, whose post office address is 1721 El Trinidad Drive East, Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation to the City of Clearwater as low medium density residential LMDR, providing an effective date.
Any council discussion? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 7.5.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7.6.
Approve the annexation initial future land use map designation of residential urban RU and initial zoning atlas designation medium density residential district for 1827 Douglas Avenue, together with certain right-of-way of Douglas Avenue and pass ordinances 9779-24, 9780-24, and 9781-24 on first reading.
This is another voluntary annexation request, but it's also including some right-of-way that is adjacent to the property, as you can see on the map. Staff is recommending approval as the property is contiguous and meets the requirements for annexation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.6?
It's going to seem a little disjointed what I'm about to say, but we do not want a change of character in our neighborhood, and what I'm seeing is leading to that. This property is 6 individual lots, not just the 3 we're dealing with. The next item on the agenda comes up with this one, and they're contiguous. According to the folio, there's 2 folios involved, and your offices in the city seem to consider these to be unsubdivided, not lots in some manner. The city told me that the proposed change of future use was to medium-density residential, and that is 7.5 units per acre and is the same as the county future land use. The fact is that MDR future and existing use in the city is 15 units per acre, not 7.5, and this is being moved forward toward that on this build. We do not want medium-density residents in our neighborhood. We purposely bought in this neighborhood to have ranch-style homes and larger lots and a more different feel than apartments and condominiums and townhomes. The county designation is residential urban, and the city designation that matches it is actually residential urban as well. That can be shown by looking up the other properties on the same subdivision that have been incorporated into the city and had the designation residential urban added to them. We think that building maybe up to 10 units on this land, which is what he's allowed, is perfectly reasonable. And even at 10 units, I've looked at the numbers, and it looks like he's only going to pay about 50 to 60% of the value of lots to do this. So it's not like this builder is going to lose anything, in my opinion. Larger issues regarding the building. From Sunset Point, it is now 3 to 6 traffic lights to get to Highland. We have allowed Serena to be built. We have allowed all kinds of building going on, all the infill lots. The density is getting crazy, and the expansion didn't happen on Sunset Point Road when it should have. It used to be 30 minutes to St. Pete. God knows what it is now. Marshall Street Sewer Plant is completely and regularly overflowing with millions of gallons of partially treated human waste into Stevenson's Creek. That creek, EPA ordered it not to happen anymore. They did millions of dollar cleanup there, and it's going on again. And this kind of high-density ideology, or this continuing building where we know that these houses are going to be added to the sewer system, is going to be a major issue, and you're not doing your job. This is a decades-old problem that has never been dealt with. You've already incorporated Betty to Douglas and Sunset to Union, that whole area, and you added them all onto the sewer system when you couldn't even handle what you had. I do not understand what you guys are doing. I am not in the county, I'm in the city, I don't want to be in the city. Right now, I just learned that a city engineer or someone was walking our streets and talked with some people in our neighborhood, and you're talking about changing our street signs from brown to white. You're talking about incorporating our area mandatorily in some manner is what it looks like to me, and I want this whole thing to stop. I'm against any change in use above 7.5.
Are you in the city now, or are you outside?
No, I'm in the county.
You're in the county.
Yes, yes, I'm one of the affected people who have received a letter from this council. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I did.
Does anyone else desire to be heard on agenda item 7.6?
Happy to be here, and happy that I can tell you that this is not going to go on in our neighborhood. We don't need more people crowded into our neighborhood. It's a small street there that we have, and it gets crunched by these trucks that goes down through there building things. They've messed up our neighborhood by building and building and building. I live in the county, just like he lives in the county. We don't want to be in the city. What the time to bring up something like this, to put a burden of money on people when we have a hard time right now. We have food prices, everything going up, and we can't hardly live. And then you want to put a burden of us to pay for a sewer line? We don't have that kind of money. You know, I've been there 50 years. The reason I love that place is because it's like old Florida. And that's what I want. I want my street to be old Florida, not your plastic villages, your plastic homes. We don't want them there. I'm sorry.
Anyone else desire to be heard on item 7.6? Anyone else desire to be heard on this item?
You have to come to the podium, ma'am. You have to come to the
Yeah,
podium.
you have to come to the microphone to pick you up.
I live on the same street with the gentleman that he already talked. I agree with him. We own the house over there, and we are happy with what we have. We do not want more construction on that street. And yeah, I disagree with everything that you guys want to do over there.
And just trying to understand the
Sure.
neighborhood. You live in...
I do live-
outside of Clearwater, right? In unincorporated?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
am his neighbor.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else desire to be heard on agenda item 7.6?
My name's Sonia Thompson. I live on Sylvan Drive, 1801. This is a great neighborhood. It's an old neighborhood. It's filled with people from senior citizens to toddlers. We have dog walkers. We have neighbors walking together, pushing their prams, kids walking to school. It's just great, and I think this sort of building into the neighbor will affect it greatly and perhaps destroy it. So I'm against these annexes for our unincorporated nice area. Thank you.
Anyone else here desire? Another gentleman looks like he's approaching. So.
I live on Douglas in the unincorporated area also, and right next to where some of the property is going to be annexed. And came here tonight just to find out more information and to have a large number of people brought into that area where we bought for in the unincorporated area with larger lots. And of course, we have neighbors and we want to be in that there, but we want to live in the city, but not in that high density of a city. And that will change the whole character of the area and how you live in the area. I live on Douglas, right next door to these properties. And I have some concerns about this. I want to I wanted to bring it to you.
Anyone else on agenda item 7.6?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Whitaker, and I'm the agent that represents the owners for the property, both of the properties that you're talking about. And what we're trying to do is just become part of Clearwater, and there's not going to be a big condominium or apartment complex or anything like that. We're going to follow the plat lines and do 6 individual, smaller, single-family homes that are more for like workforce housing, like affordable homes where people can actually walk, have walkability to downtown, to ride their bikes and go on the Pinellas Trail nearby. Just something that's affordable and not high modern or anything like that. Just a really solid construction to help also the tax, improve the tax base of downtown Clearwater. And we're not asking to do anything, unusual, just follow the plat lines that are already there. There's already 3 lots on Douglas and 3 lots on Sylvan, and it's already on the plat line, so we would just take those and actually build single-family homes, so they would have their own garage, their own driveway. There wouldn't be a big parking lot someplace. There wouldn't be cars all over the streets. It shouldn't increase, all of the traffic in that area because it's only 6 homes on lots that are already platted to be there anyways. So, did you have anything to add?
I just want to mention about the sewers, the whole area is on septic, so I don't know.
Yeah, the sewer lines are, we have a letter from the city that says that the sewer lines are not available for those lots at this time. So we would build septic for each one of them, and then when the sewer lines became available and the city approved it, then they would be attached to the sewer. But that's the only benefit we wouldn't be able to get with coming into Clearwater would be the sewer lines. So we wouldn't be affecting the sewer lines or anything. I don't know if anybody has any other questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else desire to be heard on agenda item 7.6?
Can I say one more thing?
No. Sir, I think you allotted, I think I think you spoke for your length of time allotted, so, yeah.
Hello, folks. I would like to thank the Clearwater City Council for allowing me to speak. First of all, I would like to say that we listened to the developer about the 6 supposedly residential homes that are going to go in there. Our concern is that the ones on Sylvan are up for medium density, and the possibility that after they are approved for medium density, that it changes from homes to multifamily. I have got information from several sources that there is multifamily going in here and not single family. My concern is, first of all, you're talking about 3 more cars on Sylvan Drive. And Sylvan Drive, I don't know how many of you have been on it. If you haven't, you need to take a drive on it because it's a very narrow road and it's falling apart. County isn't doing anything. The city isn't doing anything about it. And now you want to put more cars on our road? That's crazy. There's not enough room for the people on there now. If you're heading one way and a car's coming towards you, you have to swerve off to the side for both cars to get around. I just can't see this happening unless you're going to come down through and improve our road. I don't see how you can put more cars in there. Thank you.
Anyone else desire to speak to agenda item 7.6? Anyone else? Good? Yes.
I just want to respond to the gentleman that as right now we are with county, and the reason why we're trying to annex is to build single family, not what he said about the multifamily, because right now county allowed us to build multifamily home. I already went and talked to them, and they said, we allowed you to build a duplex or fourplex there, but we don't want that. We want to build single family. So I just want to respond to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, if you've already spoken, then I apologize. Is anyone else who's not already spoken want to speak regarding this agenda item? Yeah.
Good evening. How you doing? I'm a resident on the Cross Street in the unincorporated area at Carolyn. And I've been there approximately 4 years now. Love it. Come to love the neighbors. And it's actually quite diverse and unique because we are just south of Dunedin, of course. And since we are unincorporated, it keeps that niche, which is old Florida. People like to term that phrase. So I believe if you keep this, it is up and coming. It's a great area. I don't believe we can handle the density at all. It's gonna, the infrastructure can't handle it. The roads, the waters, it just cannot handle it. It's gonna be a huge, huge money pit. So I just wanted to advise that and say thank you. Please take it under advisement. We love it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else on this agenda item? Okay. Seeing none, this we need a reading on.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Would that be acceptable?
You've had your chance to speak, so well, everybody gets a chance to speak, and everybody did. Yeah. Everybody gets a chance to speak, and everybody's spoken, I think, that wants to speak. Before, anybody who's not spoken yet wants to speak. It doesn't appear that that's the case. So with that, could we have a reading, please?
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance number 9779-24 is up first. An ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real property located on the east side of Douglas Avenue, approximately 180 feet south of Vista Way, whose post office address is 1827 Douglas Avenue, Clearwater, Florida, 33755, together with certain abutting right-of-way of Douglas Avenue into the corporate limits of the city, and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date. Next up is ordinance number 9780-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real property located on the east side of Douglas Avenue, approximately 180 feet south of Vista Way, whose post office address is 1827 Douglas Avenue, Clearwater, Florida, 33755, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as residential urban RU, providing an effective date. Finally, there is ordinance number 9781-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real property located on the east side of Douglas Avenue, approximately 180 feet south of Vista Way, whose post office address is 1827 Douglas Avenue, Clearwater, Florida, 33755, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as medium-density residential, MDR, providing an effective date.
This time, is there any council discussion? Councilmember Cotton.
I appreciate everybody's comments. They're not taken lightly. I understand where you're coming from and the feelings that you're sharing, that you feel like this is going to change your neighborhood, the old Florida feel. I'm a second-generation Clearwater Floridian. My wife is a fourth, my children are fifth-generation Clearwater Floridians. So old Florida is essentially in my family's blood. I will be honest with you, though. This is just the property owner asking to come into the city. And I'm not in the business of telling a property owner what they can and cannot do with their property. If they would like to come into our city, I'm not going to stop them from doing that either. They're here to tell you exactly what they're going to do with their property too, and it doesn't sound like they're making multifamily dwellings. So I have no problem with allowing them to come into our wonderful city and be a part of it.
Okay. Any other council discussion? Councilmember Menino.
I do have a question, and if staff can address it.
Ms. Clayton?
Thank you. If this property was not annexed into the city, what currently could be built there regarding the current rights as a property owner?
Well, that's under the jurisdiction of the county. I don't know the county code inside and out, but I definitely know single-family homes could be there. The developer said that multifamily could be built there too. I do want to clarify, the underlying future land use in the county is residential urban. It will continue to be residential urban in the city of Clearwater, and that is what regulates the number of units that can be built. That's 7.5 units per acre, so that's not changing. It's our understanding. We do not have a development application, but they are annexing into the city in order to receive water service. Sanitary sewer service is not available to this property, and they would also like to get solid waste service. This is in the Clearwater planning area. We are the body that will provide urban services to this property, and that is why they're asking to annex, so they can get water to the property.
Thank you.
So it is going to be zone medium density residential, which allows single-family homes. It's possible to do an attached dwelling if you have a 10,000 square foot lot. It's our understanding they plan to plat the property. They will also have to get permission from the Department of Health in order to install to have septic tanks, because there's no sewer there. So it's our understanding the intent is to build single-family homes.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sir, please, everybody, this isn't a community development board hearing. There's no, it's not, it's not administrative. I mean, you had your chance. Everybody had a chance to speak and say that.
That's not it.
But we're not.
Back up and give you an explanation of something that was incorrect.
She answered a question that the council had.
And she answered incorrectly.
Well, I'm just asking you to help us participate in the orderly meeting. Yeah, thank you.
That's a good people balance for things later.
Thank you. Thank you. Sir, everybody just come, we're just trying to run the meeting, okay? So everybody had a chance to say what they wanted to say. We're going to continue on with our part of the discussion. Let us discuss, if you would, sir. Sir, I'm asking you kindly. If you can't stop from interrupting us, then we'd ask that you leave. We want you to stay, but if you're going to interrupt us and disrupt, then we're going to have to ask you to leave. Thank you. Okay. So, other council discussion?
Yeah, and just to finish, I appreciate hearing everybody, appreciate you showing up with your concerns. This is protecting the character of your neighborhood. We all live in neighborhoods, and we're concerned about that. This gets into one of those sticky areas where you talk about rights of a property owner and giving a property owner the ability to use their property at their wishes within the restrictions of the municipality, in this case, the city or the county. I believe we're probably in a position where, whether they're annexed in or not, they have the ability to build. We're going to come to that point. It's a matter of how much density is built. I would hope we could take the word of the builders and what they're saying on staying in single-family residential, affordable housing, workforce housing, which this community needs. So I'm not going to get involved in telling somebody what they can and can't do with their property in regards to what they legally can.
Other council discussion? I just want to weigh into, I understand, I sit on Community Development Board, which is essentially our planning and zoning, and they're just, we have to respect everybody's property rights, including this property owners. I don't know that I'm clear on what's changing for the neighbors, because it appears that they have the right to do what they're doing now under the county's code and zoning. So I don't know, I'm not clear today on what annexation really changes, because they could do what they're proposing to do after they're annexed in, they could do already if they wanted to. It does allow them to take advantage of our city water, maybe at some point city sewer, but they can't even take advantage of city sewer right now. So
At what point is the citizen?
Yeah, again, everybody had a chance to say what they wanted to say, so let's all. So at this time, is there any other council discussion? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 7.6.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Agenda item 7.7.
Approve the annexation initial future land use map designation of residential urban RU and initial zoning atlas designation medium density residential MDR district for an unaddressed parcel on Sylvan Drive and pass ordinances 9782-24, 9783-24, and 9784-24 on first reading.
This is the abutting property that was referenced in the last agenda item. As you can see, this is the future land use map that's contained in the ordinance, which regulates density. The surrounding properties are RU. This property will be RU, which allows 7.5 units per acre. They meet the requirements for annexation, and staff is recommending approval.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.7?
You need to submit a card.
I've got a card right here.
And,
If he brings the card.
and he needs to fill it out with his name.
Oh, he needs to fill it out?
He needs,
Oh, sorry.
I mean, he can speak and then fill it out.
Okay, no worries, just take that. We're going around in circles here, and you guys just.
Sir, can you state your name? So
My
just
name is
before
Dirk-
we.
My name is Dirk Janis. I live at 1230 Carolyn Lane. I am in the unincorporated area. I was invited here by this council. I really resent the fact that the mayor asked people if they were citizens of the city, because it really was demeaning to even hear that. We're all here because we were invited here by you. So it doesn't matter what, we're all involved in this. Now, the documents I have here say that you're going to pass this as an RU with a residential medium density behind it. That means that this builder has the right to immediately say, I want medium density, and take it up to 15 units per acre tomorrow, and you can't stop him. And you just voted on 3 items, not one. 7.6 was actually 3 separate issues. And you didn't even recognize that they're 3 separate issues, and that's why we're here. I don't care if the man wants to build a house there. God, let somebody build a house. It raises my property value. If he builds a beautiful single-family ranch home and fits in the neighborhood and everything, wonderful. None of us have a problem with that. He probably doesn't realize he's on Clearwater City Water no matter what, because that's who delivers our water, okay? The only thing he'll have to do is pay for his own garbage. That's the only difference. If he wants to go in the city, God bless him, let him go. But the city better not come to me and try and force me to annex later on. That's not what I want, and certainly I don't want anybody else going and attaching to a sewer system that's already overloaded, that you guys have been let go for decades. It's got to end, all right? Now, I think you guys need to go back and revisit this, take away this medium density residential overlay that you put on this property. Just take it away. Pass it as residential urban, and everybody here can probably go home.
Yes.
That's why we're here. And you wouldn't listen. This person got up and lied. She said it's 7.5. No, the underlying that you're giving on top of that is 15, double the density, which will allow this man to come in the next time you meet, after this is approved, he can go to 15 per acre, and you can't stop him. So you're setting this up for something that we don't want. That's why we're here. Is there anything you guys need to ask me? I mean, I'm frustrated, mainly because I was trying to straighten out this underlying 15-unit issue versus the 7.5. It's all in writing. And even the people I talked to in this city said, no, this is 7.5. It's not. You're given a 7.5 with an underlying 15.
Amen.
It's not right.
I understand your comments, and not to go back and forth with you, but I ask about whether you're in the county or not, because I just want to understand the neighborhood. I want to understand, where, exactly what part of this is not annexed, is still part of the county, and that's why I ask you. Just to see which part. I was just trying to understand the neighborhood.
Well, I mean, we've got a few
Cer-
homes in here.
certainly you
It's-
got notice,
It's strange
you got-
because it's,
yeah.
people have been annexing, you know, every third house or whatever. It's really strange and calling the sheriff versus the police. I mean, it's, in our neighborhood, it's getting weird.
And
right?
certainly you got notice because, you know, we want to
Right,
hear what
and
your
I-
thoughts, and I appreciate you coming in.
And I appreciate the notice. You know,
Tonight's your
I just
day.
think that this board needs to say, wait a minute, the people here are concerned about the density. Let's just stop the density issue. Take away the one thing that brought us here, the 15 unit per acre. Take that off the table and guys, we go home. I mean, that's it. That's where we're at.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you. As I said, they can probably still build 10 units there, even in the county. I get that. And he owns the property, great. Don't have a problem with that. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who desires to speak on agenda item 7.7?
Once again, I'd like to thank the city council for allowing me to come up here and speak. I
Sir,
am
could you
in
state your name?
unincorporated Pinellas County, if I didn't tell you the first time I was up. And I'm back up here because of my concern for the annexation of Sylvan Drive. I know, you know, I guess what I'm saying is, I'm going to tell you, I already know there was a gentleman walking through our neighborhood with a clipboard, and I stopped and talked to him. And he said he was from the city of Clearwater, planning and engineering, and that any roads within our neighborhood that were under control of Pinellas County were automatically going to be in control of the city of Clearwater, and that included the right-of-way, okay? You talked about the septic tank and then the possibility of future sanitary sewer. I know for a fact that the neighborhood across the street from where we live went through this same thing, and they got sanitary sewer whether they liked it or not. Is it going to come our way? Is that what this is all about? You know, the annexation of Sylvan Drive? Is that what this is going to lead to? If so, how soon is this all going to take place? You know, once again, you know, you're letting a developer, and I'm going to go back to what he said about the 15, what is it, Dirk? The 15 units deal, and let's say the developer comes in here and decides he wants to do the 15 units. Is he going to have access to allowing traffic for his multifamily unit onto Sylvan Drive? Once again, I entertain each one of you to drive on Sylvan Drive and see what it looks like. It's a small road. I'll go back to telling you again, when two cars try to pass each other, they have to get off a little bit to the side to get around each other. That's how small the streets are. And we want to keep it that way. We don't care because there's not that much traffic on Sylvan Drive. But if he does that 15-unit thing, there's going to be a lot of traffic and the road's going to fall apart. And, you know, when is the sanitary coming? I'm assuming it's right down the road if what you're talking about doing here is going to happen.
Anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 7.7?
Can I?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me come back up here. I was, you know, it was brought on us today that we had to write a note and all this. We weren't prepared for having a pencil and paper and all that to do this stuff. And then I don't know if you understand about our neighborhood. Those lots there have beautiful trees. The lady that ran the library here, she made a paradise there on our neighborhood. And if they come in there, they'll rip all those trees, all those things out, and that are beautiful. That's what makes our neighborhood so nice. It has woods and animals, and we live in a paradise. And then you want to come in and you tell us we're going to do this, we're going to, no, we need to vote. We voted last time on whether we were going to be annexed. We need to vote. That's the way it works. It doesn't, you guys don't tell us that you're going to do things to us and make us have thousands of dollars that we don't have to hook up to your sewer. So anyways, we need to vote. Thank you very much.
Anyone else desire to speak to agenda item 7.7? Seeing none, can we get a reading, please?
Ordinance number 9782-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain unaddressed real property located on the west side of Sylvan Drive, approximately 270 feet south of Vista Way in Clearwater, Florida, 33755, into the corporate limits of the city and redefine the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date. Ordinance number 9783-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain unaddressed real property located on the west side of Sylvan Drive, approximately 270 feet south of Vista Way in Clearwater, Florida, 33755, upon annexation to the City of Clearwater as residential urban RU, providing an effective date. Ordinance number 9784-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real property located on the west side of Sylvan Drive, approximately 270 feet south of Vista Way in Clearwater, Florida, 33755, upon annexation to the City of Clearwater's medium-density residential MDR and providing an effective date.
Any council discussion on this item? Councilmember Menino?
Yeah, if you make, staff, can we have staff back up just to give us clarity? I think it's important to all of us in protecting, our neighborhoods and the character of it. And if the discussion is simply medium density versus RU, we're looking at a map and it says all three are RU and we're staying residential density, urban density. Can you define that for us and then give
Yes,
them
I'd be
clarity
happy
and
to.
peace of mind of what can be done?
I would be happy to. That's why I said what I did at the beginning of the case, because I think there might be a little confusion between the underlying future land use, which will be residential urban. That guides your density. It sets the density, which is 7.5 units per acre. Based on the land area of 0.906 acres, that is 6 units. So that's all that can be built there is 6 units based on the future land use map. The zoning district is called medium-density residential. It allows single-family homes as of right. Through other processes, one might be able to ask for an attached dwelling, but you would need a 10,000 square foot lot size, et cetera. So 6 units is all that can be built there. There is no 15 units per acre. This is not a land use category of residential medium, which would allow 15 units per acre. There's no overlay. The medium density residential is the zoning district. But again, density is governed by the underlying future land use of residential urban.
Okay. Councilmember Teixeira?
I just wanted on record, if these people choose not to annex into the City of Clearwater, they can still build those 6 units, correct?
No, we are the urban service provider. We provide water. They would need to annex into the city to get the water and solid waste service. They cannot get sanitary sewer service at this time. We do not service that area. As I said before, they'd have to go to the health department and get septic system permits.
Okay. Anybody else? Councilmember Cotton?
I hope everybody heard what Ms. Clayton said here, that, I think that's very important, is that it's not zoned for 15 units to go in. It's going to be urban residential with a max of 7.5, built for 6 lots. I also am going to be completely honest with you all here. I have not been made aware of any plans to try and take over Sylvan Drive and make you all annex into our city. Clearly, you do not want that. This is the property owner coming to us. We did not seek them out. If you all saw a city engineering person on your street, it's probably because they were there to do survey work for that, and you got a hold of them, and they gave you information if you want to do the same thing. We're not here trying to take your properties.
Then why is the city of Clearwater taking over?
Yeah, excuse me, sir. Any other council discussion?
No, I'm back.
All right. I just want, no, if you don't want to be part of the city of Clearwater, nobody's asking you to tonight. This is whatever this property owner wants to be, but nobody, if you want to stay unincorporated, you can stay unincorporated. That's just fine. Nobody is trying to annex your property. And hopefully the explanation Ms. Clayton's given, that they can only put 6 units on this parcel. Hopefully that's helpful to you in understanding what they can do, which I don't think, we can't confirm because we're not the county, but I don't think is any different from what they could probably do now, so.
If I could clarify about the annexation of right-of-way, as you can see on the map, we are annexing the right-of-way that's remaining of Douglas because not all of that right-of-way is in the city of Clearwater. So that's what's being proposed. We are not at this time proposing to take in any of Sylvan. So I just wanted to also make that clear.
So hopefully there's some information that helps everybody understand what's happening tonight. Nobody's trying to take anybody's property, other than we're just trying to annex in a property that wants to be part of it. And there's no pressure on anybody else today or going forward to try to be annexed into the city. So, with that, any other further council discussion? If not, if I could get a motion.
Move to approve agenda item 7.7.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7.8.
Approve the annexation, initial future land use map designation of residential low, RL, and initial zoning atlas designation of low, medium density residential, LMDR district for 2135 Pleasant Parkway, and pass ordinances 9785-24, 9786-24, and 9787-24 on first reading.
This is another voluntary annexation request for a single-family home. They are requesting annexation in order to receive sanitary sewer and solid waste service. They meet the requirements for annexation, and staff is recommending approval.
Does anyone here desire to speak to agenda item 7.8? Hearing seeing none, can we get a reading, please?
First up is ordinance number 9785-24, an ordinance of the city of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real property located on the south side of Pleasant Parkway, approximately 330 feet south of Belchier Drive, whose post office address is 2135 Pleasant Parkway, Clearwater, Florida, 33764, into the corporate limits of the city and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date. Next up is ordinance number 9786-24, an ordinance of the city of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real property located on the south side of Pleasant Parkway, approximately 330 feet south of Belchier Drive, whose post office address is 2135 Pleasant Parkway, Clearwater, Florida, 33764, upon annexation into the city of Clearwater as residential low, RL, providing an effective date. Finally, we have ordinance number 9787-24, an ordinance of the city of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real property located on the south side of Pleasant Parkway, approximately 330 feet south of Belchier Drive, whose post office address is 2135 Pleasant Parkway, Clearwater, Florida, 33764, upon annexation into the city of Clearwater as low, medium density residential, LMDR, providing an effective date.
This time, is there anyone here from the public desire, excuse me, I already did that. Is there any council discussion on agenda item 7.8? Okay, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve item 7.8.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. So at this time, we'll move back to the consent agenda and item 6.1.
Approve a purchase order to Southern Landscape Materials of Tarpon Springs, Florida for roadway materials in the amount of $250,000 with 2 one-year renewal options for a total not to exceed amount of $750,000 pursuant to invitation to bid 29-24 roadway materials, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Evening, Mayor, council members, Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. We went through this one in a lot more detail during the work session. However, it's purchasing aggregate materials that would be used for our streets, sidewalks, stormwater, other utilities. They're purchased on a unit rate amount, meaning we just call what we need. They'll deliver it, so it's a not to exceed amount, and then the total is based on prior years. So stand by if there's any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.1?
I'm Mr. Galuba. I just don't see the need to, in effect, make a contract for $750,000 worth of gravel over this time period. If the city needs gravel, go buy a truckload of gravel. It's, you know, about $40 a ton anywhere. So at that rate, $750,000 worth is 18,750 tons of gravel. As we all know from grade school, 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. So 18,750 tons times 2,000 is 37,500,000 pounds of gravel. Just to put that in perspective, if you divide that figure by the population of Clearwater, that's 312 pounds of gravel per resident. I'm not saying that the city shouldn't buy gravel. Why do we go through these things over and over again where you put yourself out there way ahead of time, in this case, 3 years worth, $750,000. I know all the money's not going to be spent at one time. That's pretty clear. However, maybe if the city was a little bit more conservative in their use of gravel, they wouldn't need, 18,750 tons of it. And, I heard him, and that, there is some need for gravel. I get it. You buy it as you need it, like any individual person would do. Now, I also want to thank Ms. Jank of the Daughters of Revolution. She gave me this little pamphlet, which I can't read without my glasses, but on the back it says, "Get to know the most important legal document ever created." And there's going to be some more discussion on that here pretty quick.
Anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 6.1?
Mr. Hurley, your camera.
I'm just gonna need a pen so I can fill out the card for that guy right here. But I've got mine. This is for me. Hi, friends. How we doing? Missed you. I missed you guys so much. And just like Mr. Huluba said, 18,000. Oh, my name's Michael Taylor from Port St. Lucie. I drive 4 hours just to come meet this wonderful panel of people. I love you guys. You guys are my best friends. Like Mr. Hulu was saying, sometimes it just seems excessive. Like I said that about some of the boat things and this, and I do agree that, yes, you do need gravel. I'm not saying you don't. I just think, it's a little excessive, and I'm not gonna keep going on because I was gonna say some of the things he said, but you kind of get the point. We just think this is just a bit too much, but motion second unanimous.
Anyone else desire to speak to agenda item 6.1? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to council discussion. Is there any discussion on agenda item 6.1? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 6.1.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.2.
Approve supplemental one work order from Harvard Jolly Inc. of St. Petersburg, Florida for design services of South Osceola Parking Garage 22-0011-EN in the amount of $452,552, increasing the total from $1,540,598,000 to $1,993,150,000, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Oh, I'm sorry. You guys could have stopped me.
You're doing such a great job.
We're on the roll.
Okay, 6.2, sorry. Approve an increase to purchase order to Inliner Solutions LLC of Sanford, Florida for stormwater pipelining, Section C, in the amount of $1,600,000, increasing the contract from $500,000 to $2,100,000 on a unit price basis pursuant to invitation to bid 23-0036-EN, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Great. Good evening, Council. Ed Wilmes, Stormwater Manager, here to answer any questions you might have. We went over this with some pretty good detail last night, and be happy to answer any remaining questions that might exist.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.2?
Mr. Haluva. You know, again, this is an excessive amount of money for pipelining. And from my perspective, it's like the commercials you see on TV where they want you to spray some goop on your roof instead of getting a new roof. Now these lines, these drain lines, if they're cast iron pipes, they last between 75 and 100 years. If they're clay and cement, they last about 100 years. If they're PVC, they last well over 100 years. Relining reduces the diameter of the pipe, maybe by only a little bit, but it reduces the flow capacity. And this is just, you know, the things that I read over and over again when, you know, watching what the city of Clearwater's up to, some really flawed, you know, self-serving thinking, such as stormwater infrastructure requires annual maintenance. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You know, and putting, you know, some interliner goop in a pipe does not require excavation. Well, I agree, okay? It doesn't, but it also doesn't solve the issue. And road and drainage go hand in hand. If we didn't have roads, we wouldn't have road drainage problems. And, Mr. Albritton, you're familiar with North Beach. They've got water coming up in the middle of the road. Are they going to put an interliner in there, you know, just fix the pipe and not the road? Or are they going to dig the road up? Or, you know, again, roads and drainage go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And, you know, there's going to be a vote here a little later on raising, you know, the rates for roads under, you know, capital improvements and everything else that we shouldn't have to pay for. But the storm drain pipes, you know, if they are in need of such serious repair, you know, let's replace them. Let's repave the street while we're at it. Any of you who've been driving around Clearwater can tell that's way behind as well. It's just a $2.1 million Band-Aid approach to a very real general fund supported tax issue, not an added tax on our utility bills.
Anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 6.2?
Sir? I got you. Don't lose that. I bought it for you. How y'all doing? Mike Taylor again from Port St. Lucie, 4 hours away. Like Mr. Haluga said, you know, a contract from $500,000 to $2.1 million. It's just like, And don't get me wrong, I've watched some of the news coverage, even from, I can't remember the hurricane that hit here last year, but I know that there's drainage that's needed. We need to fix things, not do, like he said, just, oh, we're gonna just put some spackle on it and that'll be good for now. Let's really do the work. Do the work right. It's like, if I go, when I take over a kitchen and I start going through all the equipment and I'm like, oh, why is this oven broken? Why is this broken? And then I go back to him and I'm like, oh, let's just call the repairman. I'm like, no, this thing's 40 years old. Let's fix it. Let's fix the problem. That way you have the longevity of, and hopefully, yes, it might hurt, some of the traffic, so on and so forth. But right now is the perfect time. If you're gonna do something, I'm not really agreeing that you need $2.1 million. What I am saying is, I think relook and maybe look at how do we really fix this problem. That way we don't reoccur this problem. Because hurricane seasons, we're in the brunt of it, and you're not gonna be able to fix it right now, right? Obviously not, because if you tried a hurricane, it would ruin everything. So think about it in December, November, as hurricane season's wrapping up. All right, then revisit this and say, all right, we relooked at it. We're looking at, like you said, PVC or anything that's going to give the longevity of this city. And that's really all I really had to say about that. So hopefully that works out for you guys. I don't live here, but I do try to look out for the citizens saying, hey, I look at Dalton, Illinois, and I see that super mayor, and I think we all know who the super mayor, super duper mayor, she spends money like crazy. And I'm not saying you do the same, but this is a little excessive, and possibly relook at it after hurricane season, because nothing's gonna happen right now, so.
Anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 6.2? Hearing and seeing none, is there a council discussion? Hearing and seeing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.2.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.3.
Approve supplemental 1 work order from Harvard Jolly for design services of South Osceola parking garage.
Evening, Mayor, council members. Again, I know we talked this one on work session. I did want to provide just a little bit more detail. I think there was some conversation that had gone on with regard to going into the redesign. I did just want to let you know, behind the scenes, there was a lot of heavy pushing back and forth as we dug through it. We actually went and did a completely separate estimate from what they were doing, dug into the numbers and started looking at where we thought there was some problems. So that's partly why you see the big 3.2 million. So the initial take was, can we just kind of turn the screws, hold the architect and engineer a little bit tighter to what they need to. As we got in and looked at it, I think most folks know there was the issue with the chillers, but there was also some foundation issues. So there's a big void on the property. Shrinking that footprint back gets us away from that, where a lot of the dollars are also in the foundation piers and whatnot. So as we looked at it, we drove to the conclusion that it's a better financial decision for the city. So it gets us back in budget. It solves some of those issues. So I think some of our lessons learned as we go through this was getting those conceptual estimates in a little bit earlier and putting that check estimate. And we're actively working through that right now with purchasing and getting that capability built back in. So that was part of what drove this. So we ultimately got to it, but yes, we're having to do a little bit of redesign to get to that better product.
That's good. Thank you for that explanation. Does anyone from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.3?
I'm Mr. Elizabeth. I got a problem with this parking garage, just period. From what I read, we're gonna reward this Harvard Jolly, as you know, we heard, for basically coming up with a plan that couldn't work. So we're gonna give them more money to go back and rewrite it. And, you know, besides the issues with the chiller, and the biggest one is, like you said, the geotechnical studies showed deeper foundation shafts are needed. Well, that pretty much makes it, you know, a no-go, as it should be. The other problem I have with it is this is, you know, being sold as a necessary addition or annexation or help for Coachman Park. I don't think it is. If Coachman Park was a desirable venue where people actually wanted to go, they'd figure out on their own how to get there. But it's not. Talk about design flaws. There's only 4,000 seats at, you know, the amphitheater. We talk about getting bigger acts and everything. Well, you can't get a big act in an outdoor 4,000 seat amphitheater. It's not going to happen. This parking garage, ramp, whatever it is just, you know, already projected to be $32 million. It's not coming out of anybody's particular pocket. It's coming out of everybody's pocket on top of the $84 million that I have been saying all along was probably not the way to go for downtown Clearwater. That money was, you know, spent, it's gone. It's never going to be what it was sold as, and it hasn't been. And I think that this should be, you know, let Harvard Jolly have their money for their recommendation that it, you know, can't be done.
Anyone else desire to speak to agenda item 6.3?
My name is Michael Taylor. I'm from Port St. Lucie. My biggest issue with this is same thing with, what is it, the Wits where Poirier and Texera live. That thing's lost money. And I'm not saying this one's gained money. I don't even really, I didn't even look at it, but half the time they don't say how much this place, you know, I have to do records requests to find out how much this place actually makes. And, you know, if it's right down the road here and like, just, you know, like I honestly can't get why you would have to get $452,000 more dollars just to pave a dirt plot or whatever, or let's just say, or build it up. You know, if you need parking down here that nobody comes to downtown for anyway, then so be it. But, you know, like, for me, you know, I think of about, you know, our government's using our money and how they use our money. And I don't even live here, and I understand downtown, you know, you're trying to revitalize it, but is it the parking lot that you're really needing? Is there not enough parking in downtown? Like, I can drive down, you know, half a dozen streets and there's plenty of parking, you know, until there's an event here, and even some of those events, you know, they might draw in, what, a couple thousand? Yeah, then, yeah, have that, build up a 3 or 4 story, you know, parking lot, but it's just, you know, 2.1, to boost it to 2.1. They're asking for 500,000, right? Oh, no, that was the wrong one. 452,000, and they're boosting it to 1.9 million. And what work has already actually been done? Is this thing almost finished? Is it in proximity of being finished? That's why you need the extra, because, you know, they, just like there was a guy here said, you know, about the boats, you're like, oh, we're gonna need X amount of dollars, and they're like, no, you're gonna ask for more, and sure enough, he asked for more. So you know, it is what it is. Ms. Call, I am not going to be speaking on 6.4 to 6.8, just to give you a heads up. Sorry about that. I will be. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak to agenda item 6.3? Okay, hearing none, is there any council discussion? Hearing seeing none, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve item 6.3.
Is there a second?
Sorry.
Did I just steal Menino's thunder?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.4.
Approve a work order to Wanamaker Jensen Architects for design of municipal services building renovations project in the amount of $1,140,000, $302. Request for qualifications 24-22 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Evening, Mayor, council members, Marcus Williamson again. So this one was for the design of the MSB. If stated by if there's specific questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.4? Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion? Hearing seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 6.4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.5.
Approve work order direct purchase. Approve owner direct purchase order to Train Technologies for an air handling unit for the municipal services building renovations project in the amount of $362,616 pursuant to Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.563, (1), single source, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Evening, Mayor, council members, Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. This is to ensure that we get the air handler in time for the renovation projects. We're doing the owner direct purchase. That also allows us the savings for the sales tax. So standing by if there's any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.5? Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion? If there's none, do we have a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.5.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.6.
Approve an interlocal agreement between Pinellas County and the City of Clearwater regarding installation and maintenance of traffic signal cabinet art and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Hi, Dan Slaughterson, City Manager. This item is an interlocal agreement between the county and the city so that we can continue to work with the Clearwater Arts Alliance for our successful signal art campaign or project. This project does not have, or this interlocal does not have any financial implications. It simply has to come before council because of the indemnity clause. We're happy to answer any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.6? Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.6.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.7.
Approve an interlocal agreement between the City of Clearwater and the Community Redevelopment Agency to provide staffing and administrative services for the CRA in an amount not to exceed $1,060,401 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Ann Lopez, CRA Assistant Director. This item was brought forward yesterday at the CRA meeting as well as the work session for an interlocal agreement between the City of Clearwater and the CRA to provide staffing services. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.7?
I'm Mr. Haluba, and from my perspective, guess what? This is another sort of a unnecessary expense. And who's in control of this? It's the city manager, not the CRA. Now, my understanding from hearing from different sources is that most North Greenwood residents, for instance, are not happy with the CRA, and they're not really wanting any redevelopment in their neighborhood. It could be viewed as a Trojan horse. You go up in the Greenwood neighborhood, you do redevelopment, You have property values increase, next thing you know, taxes increase. Next part of the step is some of those people are, maybe priced out of homes they've been in for years and years. And, I just wish the city of Clearwater would think beyond the first step when they do any of these things to maybe 2 or 3 steps, but I know that's not possible with our current management. $924,000 for the downtown CRA, and they've done such a wonderful job so far. I don't see any difference at all. Where's that money go? Is there really anything that the CRA can put their finger on that is improved in downtown Clearwater? I don't believe so. So again, I think this is another waste of money, but go ahead and vote unanimous on this one too.
Folks, yeah, there are, I guess the media has left. There are 6 people in the room. I really don't think we need to applause. I mean, just to save some wear and tear on your hands, it's really unnecessary. So appreciate you. Just let us conduct the meeting. We're all here for an agenda item that's at the very end. Someone pulled 19 items, so we got to go through these one by one. They've all been discussed on our meeting yesterday, all been discussed by the council, and all been preliminary approved by the council. So, but somebody pulled all 19, so that's the reason we're going through it. So if you just help us move this along so we can get to the agenda item that you came here to speak to tonight at the end of the agenda, I would appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. So we have, so at this time, anybody else want to speak to agenda item 6.7? Okay. If not, is there any council discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve item 6.7.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.8.
Approve a 5-year payment deferral via loan modification for 1101 Holt Avenue, also known as HEP West, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute documents required to effect closing of the loan modification.
Good evening, Dylan Mayo, Economic Development and Housing. This is a loan deferral for one of homeless emergency projects facilities. And we spoke about this yesterday in the work session. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Did anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.8? Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 6.8.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.9.
Authorized for construction loans in an amount not to exceed $290,000 each to Clearwater Neighborhood Housing Services for the construction of 4 single-family homes in the Lake Bellevue area of Clearwater, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute documents required to effect closing of the loans.
Dylan Mayo, Economic Development and Housing. This is for 4 single-family home construction loans. Be happy to address any questions at this time.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.9?
I know you can't really answer your questions. Is this, I'm basically dividing this number by 4, right? It's not just 290,000 for just one. Or is it 4 loans for 290, or is it just one loan divided into 4 spaces? Okay. All right, that's all. I took it as 4 times 290 so cool.
Is anyone else from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.9? Hearing and seeing none, is there a council discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.9.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.10.
Approve the purchase of excess liability, workers' compensation, and various specialty insurance policies from October 1, 2024 through September 30, 2025 in the not-to-exceed amount of $1,650,000 pursuant to Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.563(1)(I), insurance, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jay Ravens, Finance Director. We discussed this annual insurance renewal at yesterday's work session. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to item 6.10?
I'm gonna be nice. When I looked at it, I didn't notice if it was specifically for, is it for the whole group? Obviously, I'm thinking. But the only problem I have with it is that it's $1.65 million for just compensations various. And, you know, what's various? Be very, you know, the key thing about a lot of this is about being very specific. And, you know, I do click on some of, you know, whether it's like 6, you know, PDFs or whatever. It's just, you know, it's $1.65 million. You know, it's just, this is just, it's frustrating because it's just so much money. It's such an exorbitant amount of money. And whenever I see various, it's like whenever I went to, you know, my business and I was like, hey, I need this, 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 and this. I wasn't, I just need $1.65 million for various things in the kitchen. I was very specific about it. And, you know, I did try to look at I've been looking at numerous PDFs throughout all of this, you know, and maybe I missed something, but once again, it's still $1.65 million. So.
Anyone else here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.10? Seeing none, is there any council discussion?
I will
Councilmember
say
Cotton?
there is an attachment for those who do want to know. It shows 26 different policy items listed out, each one itemized that up to 1.6.
That's why it's still a lot.
Any further council discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.10.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.11.
Approve an amendment with Cigna Healthcare for city medical insurance under a self-insured funding arrangement and purchase order to Evernorth Behavioral Health for the Employee Assistance Program for period January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025 pursuant to RFP 26-22 for a total not to exceed amount of $29.3 million to be funded by city budgeted funds, payroll deductions of employees and retiree premiums, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Tiffany Macris, Human Resources Director. This is an item that was presented at work session yesterday, and staff is recommending a renewal with Cigna Healthcare for city medical insurance for a policy year effective January 1st, 2025. Here if you have any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.11?
Maybe I missed this one on this one too. Mike Taylor, Port St. Lucie. The only thing, I might have missed this one as well. I just didn't see how many employees. So maybe that's just something I might have overlooked. And Cotton, you're the man. If I'm in the wrong, I'm not trying to say you don't need it. If I was just, you know, once again, I just wanted to see how many people were going to benefit from this. You know, it's a lot of money, but I understand you guys have health insurance and things of that nature. So.
Anyone else desire to speak to agenda item 6.11? Seeing none, is there any council discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve item 6.11.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.12.
Approve the Pinellas County Combined Mutual Aid Agreement for law enforcement services for a period of execution through January 31, 2029, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Evening, Mayor, Council, Chief Gandy. So the current agreement expires in 2025, January 31st. Requesting your permission to sign the new agreement for mutual aid services between the 13 municipalities and the Sheriff's Office in Pinellas County. Glad to answer any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.12?
I'm Mr. Haluba. I'm glad to see Mr. Gandy rejoined us. Pinellas County Sheriff's Office is primary law enforcement in the entire county, including Clearwater, including this building. We don't need this man. Not only does this agreement have no cost, it's useless because of who's primary law enforcement. Something that has no cost is the absolute definition of worthless. Mr. Gandy apparently wants everyone to feel indebted somehow to Clearwater Police Department. But as we've seen recently, there's been a lot of problems with management with Clearwater Police Department. It almost appears that they're more serving to, illegal forces in the city and county, such as drug dealers. Even goes back to Mr. Slaughter's time. And something that I'm very disturbed about is yesterday you had this man up here. Mr. Rector, you said, are there any questions for Mr. Gandy? Nobody had a question. Not about this, not about his sloppy performance. Nothing. And when you people give him a pass on his bad performance, it just goes on and on and on. So, I'm challenging any of you, call him back up here and ask him some questions. Ask him why he can't manage the Clearwater Police
State of the agenda
correctly.
item, please. Thank you. Thank you. You understand
I
how I
might
feel,
not be
but we're
done.
talking about this.
I've got
agenda.
54 seconds.
But we're talking about this agenda item, so there's something on this
Well,
agreement.
I don't know about that.
Anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 6.12?
Mike Taylor, Port St. Lucie, Florida. Me personally, I do not like Clearwater Police.
Mr. Taylor, you're not.
I understand, but this is about Pinellas County. And that's what I'm gonna get to that. That's
Thank
where I was
you.
gonna get to.
Thank you.
I have my own personal things that are going on with Clearwater, but I agree that you might as well just take Pinellas County and just give it to them. Let Pinellas County take care of this. Anytime, if Clearwater was to arrest me right now, Pinellas County would be the one not only, dealing with the courts, but they're the ones that are gonna have to transport me. These guys don't even transport people to Pinellas County Jail half the time. They call the paddy wagon. But anyway, I really don't, me personally, anything that if you put Pinellas County instead of Clearwater, I don't agree that you need anything on this. Nothing. Because this is the guy that, I've had issues with him numerous times, and this one, and the beach patrol, and the friggin' bike patrol. I just give it to Pinellas County and let's be done with it. I think they do a better job and they actually give a little bit more respect to their residents. So that's just what I think, but,
Anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 6.12? Seeing none, is there any council discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 6.12.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.13.
Reappoint Patrick E. Adamson to the Board of Trustees, Clearwater Police Supplementary Pension Plan with a term to expire October 31, 2028.
Mayor, Council. Pat Adamson was nominated to continue in service for the PAC and the supplemental pension plan. Requesting your authorization to approve him.
Thank you. Is there anyone here from the public desiring to speak to agenda item 6.13?
once again, it really just breaks down that, I just don't like the police here. Anything that you guys are trying to read.
We understand that.
I understand.
Just, do you have anything on this
It's just me
agenda?
speaking. I know you're gonna vote unanimous, I get that, but at least I'm getting it off my chest, at least I'm saying something. Hopefully one day that we can all do kumbaya at the pizza joint and we can really sit down and have a heart-to-heart and talk, I don't like wearing this friggin' gear and complaining about the police and the things and appointing people that probably shouldn't even be appointed. I really don't even know this person, but whatever. It is
Thank
what it
you.
is.
Thank you. Anyone else here on agenda item 6.13? Okay, seeing none, is there any council discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.13.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.14.
Approve an interlocal agreement between the Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency and the City of Clearwater to provide CRA funding in fiscal year 2024 through 2025 in the amount of $282,433.02 to underwrite the cost of additional community policing services by the Clearwater Police Department in the downtown CRA to address quality of life issues, drug dealing, and homelessness, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lieutenant Baginski with the Police Department. This item was previously discussed with you folks at yesterday's work session, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding it.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.14?
I'm Mr. Haluba. Again, I have a problem with the CRA. I think it's useless. I don't see anything happening with it. And this is $282,000 to underwrite the cost of additional community policing services. I don't think that's even allowed. I don't think it's legal. Why don't you check on it, Poirier? Mr. Margulies? Why does there have to be an appropriation of that amount for Clearwater Police? It's just another handout to the Clearwater Police that is not needed. It's wrongful. It's money going to the wrong place. You know, again, had 3 Clearwater police officers arrested this year under your watch, Poirier. That's your fault.
Mr. Haluba, speak to the council. We talked about that before the meeting. So.
Yeah, well, you know, and I told you that that one,
your
one,
opportunities
that
to,
one, they're
your opportunities
all,
to speak to the council. So
they're all,
you can do this. I know you've been respectful and ask you to be now.
they're all in their positions there. They have targets on their back. Not literally. But this is wrong. The Clearwater Police can't, you know, police downtown without this extra money. I don't believe it. That's where they spend a lot of their time. That's where Stiff spends his time, you know, probably, you know, rousting homeless people or somebody that he thinks is drinking out on the street or laying down on the street is illegal. You know, pretty soon, everything in the city of Clearwater is going to be illegal, and the CRA is not going to fix that. It's just not. It's ineffective. So this is $282,000. It's going somewhere. Where's it going? There, 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 there. Stop it.
Anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 6.14? Seeing none, any council discussion? Hearing none, is there, you have something?
Yeah. Mr. Haluba, most of the time you are very respectful. I am going to respond to that, though, because I think today's climate, we need to be very careful with the way we articulate words, especially with what's happening in political climate recently. So just next time, let's try and make sure we're not using specific words and targeting people. Thank you.
Any other council discussion?
You know what I mean.
Any other council discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.14.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.15.
Approve a purchase order Motorola Solutions, Inc. of Chicago, Illinois, in the amount of $138,316 for a mock alert fire station alerting system for Fire Station 47 pursuant to Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.563, Paren 1, Paren C, piggyback purchase or and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Scott Ellis, Fire Chief, Clearwater Fire Rescue. As discussed at the work session, this request before you is to approve the purchase order for the mock alert, the Motorola mock alert system for the new Fire Station 47. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.15? Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve item 6.15.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Item 6.16.
Approve the fire protection services agreement between Pinellas County Fire Protection Authority and the City of Clearwater for a 5-year term, October 1, 2024 through September 30, 2029, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Scott Ellis, Fire Chief. As discussed at work session, this request is for the approval of the fire protection service agreement with Pinellas County.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.16? Seeing none, is there a council discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 6.16.
Bruce, do you mind before we move
Oh,
forward?
sorry. I didn't
Yeah,
see.
no, that's okay. I just wanted to quickly thank council member for bringing this discussion up yesterday regarding this agenda item. We've had discussions in surrounding municipalities, not just ours, since COVID regarding the way Sunstar's level of service has dropped and how other municipalities like ourselves in Clearwater are stuck to kind of carry that financial burden along with the liability of service, as well as it decreases the level of service to our residents and can at times drastically change the very reason we talk about being first responders is to save somebody's life. So, you know, when I saw this yesterday, and I'm glad you brought it up, we didn't discuss it very much, but I just wanted to, thank you for bringing that up. We did have discussions with staff, and I do know that it gives me comfort to know we are having further discussions going forward about addressing this and hopefully making sure at some point that Clearwater is fairly compensated for this. I do want to ask, do we keep track or data in regards to if an ALS unit is pulled from a site to transport with, say, Sunstar, and a unit, our fire unit follows and pulls them out of service? Do we keep track of how often that happens? And
Yes, sir. So I just want to make sure I'm on the right one because this was the fire one. But that's the EMS one, but I'm more than
Okay.
happy to answer it for you.
yeah, it can wait if we want, but
Yeah,
what
it's the next-
concerned me was the 5-year term, and if we had the ability to have that discussion now might be the best discussion, but if it's the next one.
It's the next one.
EMS one's the next one.
Perfect, I'll wait.
But we'll get to that.
Thank you.
So do we have a second on 6.16?
Second.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Now, this is the item
Thank
that
you.
I think you're referring
Yeah,
to.
thank
So,
you.
agenda item 6.17.
Approve an agreement between Pinellas County and City of Clearwater to provide emergency medical services, ALS first responder services to Clearwater Fire District, and authorize appropriate officials to execute same.
Again, Scott Ellis, Fire Chief, Clearwater Fire Rescue. As discussed at the work session, this request is for the approval of the Emergency Medical Services ALS First Responder Agreement with Pinellas County.
Is anyone here from the public desiring to speak to agenda item 6.17? Seeing none, is there council discussion? Councilmember Needham?
And then to
anything you
revisit, and
wanna add?
I apologize for that, but I think you kind of know where we're going with that. I know you're probably in an agreement that the
Total agreement.
situation is a challenge
Yes.
for our city. It should be something that
Yes,
we
sir.
work.
Thank you for the question. And Councilmember Cotton and I have discussed it as well. As he has mentioned before, and we've mentioned here before, we saw a change in the contract with Sunstar throughout the county and the additional of BLS units, and then how they're responding in replace of some of the ALS units to the transports that we have to ride in on. And prior to that, we really never looked at that element. We would look at, as you mentioned, when our units are unavailable and try and make sure we have the coverage throughout, and the system is set up for that way. Since me and him and I have talked, yes, my chief of EMS has been looking at those numbers as we continue through, just so we make sure that we, when we have those areas, those times that we're pulling those units out of service, it's not impacting the service that we're providing to the citizens.
Go ahead.
Hey, Chief, if you will, please just explain in terms of the process over the 5 years, how we can make amendments to this
Oh, yeah,
agreement.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was the question in terms of
Yeah,
the 5-year term.
because the term was,
Mhm.
when I see 5-year term, I feel that we're locked in to 5 years, and if this is the time to revisit this discussion, maybe now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So Every year, this comes, both fire contract as well as the ALS contract, we have to submit a budget to what we project our budget's going to be, just like in this one here. And with that, if it's 3% or higher, it's got to come back to council, so they have a threshold in the contract for that 3% level. We're usually above that every time because either due to raises for the firefighters and fire medics and/or additional needs in regards to ALS equipment or fire units. So each year that is brought up, and we request a new budget every year for that 5-year component.
Gotcha. Thank you. And thank you, Councilman.
Yeah,
Councilmember
absolutely.
Crowe?
Thank you for bringing that back up. I'll say Chief Ellers has been very helpful in working with Chief Tedesco and trying to get me that data, as well as City Manager Foyer, Jennifer, in making them both available for me to be able to ask those questions. So hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it, and that data is being pulled. So thank you.
Thank you.
I want to echo the thanks for bringing that up. I knew about the situation, but you added color and context to it from a practical thing. It really does cost our citizens, not just Clearwater, other municipalities in the county money because of the way Sunstar is delivering those services. So thank you for raising that, and it's certainly an issue. We want to work together with other cities to try to resolve better, because if it's costing us money, then we should be compensated for that, or at least get some accommodation for the extra expense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Any further discussion? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve agenda item 6.17.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.18.
Authorize the continuing use of construction contracts to the following contractors: Engineered Spray Solutions of Lakeland, Florida, Inliner Solutions of Sanford, Florida, Roland Inc. of Pinellas Park, Florida, and USSI LLC of Venice, Florida, for the 2023 sewer point repairs and improvements in the amount of $21,500,000 for an additional one-year term for a unit price basis pursuant to invitation to bid 22-0006 UT, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Rich Gardner, Director of Public Utilities. The item before you today is for the continuing use of the 6-point repair construction contracts for the wastewater collection system in the combined total amount of $21.5 million. All these contracts are not to exceed and for a one-year term. I have yesterday's presentation available if you'd like to see it again. Otherwise, I'm asking for your approval to renew, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.18? Seeing none, is there a council? No. Here, we have more.
I'm Mr. Haluba. Again, you know, an exorbitant amount of money. I don't know where it all comes from. But my question on this one is, you know, where is this money gonna come from? Is it coming from the exorbitant sewer rates we pay? Is it coming out of tax money? I mean, is it truly gonna be an enterprise-funded expense as it should be? Because unlike stormwater, you know, sewage is a service that is paid for. It's also a enterprise-funded service. So that would be my question. Where's this money coming from?
Anyone else desire to be heard on agenda item 6.18? Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.18.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.19.
Approve submerged land lease between the state of Florida and the city of Clearwater for the shared docking facility adjacent to the Beach Recreation Center, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Council. Mike McDonald, Marine and Aviation Director. As discussed yesterday's work session, this is for a submerged land lease with the state of Florida. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.19? Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve item 6.19.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. This time, we're going to recess for 5 minutes. So we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Sorry about that.
Call the meeting back to order, and we'll move to item 8.1 on the agenda.
This is ordinance number 9788-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, Schedule of Fees, Rates, and Charges, Article 24, Public Works, Fees, Rates, and Charges, Section 3C, Solid Waste Collection Rates, Section 3D, Recycling, Section 5, Other Miscellaneous Charges, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Speaking on this?
For second readings, generally, unless there are questions from council, public comment is always required, but beyond that, unless there's questions from council.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 8.1?
I'm Mr. Haluba. Again, you know, I asked earlier where this money was coming from. Well, a lot of it's gonna come from the schedule of fees. Raising the recycling expense by 3.75%. I sent all of you an email of how other places are giving up on roadside, curbside recycling. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It doesn't make economic sense. Running gigantic trucks around, you know, 2 sets of them, doesn't help the environment. In fact, it's wrecking the streets. It needs to be stopped. If people want to recycle, they can take it over to the central collection place, and then you don't have to worry about is it contaminated or not. Obviously, it doesn't pay for itself because you got to raise the rates all the time. And that's if recycling really does go where it's supposed to go, which, you know, it's been proven it does not. You know, again, a city manager issue. Other miscellaneous charges, what are those? You know, I pay $20 a month for recycled water I don't use as an availability fee, and then they have the gall to charge me a water tax on top of that of 8%. It's a ripoff. And you're gonna raise the rates some more. Solid waste, you know, sometimes that doesn't work out very well either. You know, I don't know where it's going. I don't know why this stuff is so expensive. Probably because you have to, you know, pay so much money to Cigna and cover all these healthcare expenses. But this is, you know, too much of an increase. And again, it's not coming back every year and saying, hey, we need a little more money. This is through 2028. Why can't it be revisited every year as necessary? And I think the reason is because, you know, it's money going somewhere else. Kind of like the beer money from, you know, the former vendor at Coachman Park.
Anyone else here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 8.1? Hearing seeing none, we need another reading on this. Are we good?
I read it.
Okay. So is there any council discussion? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 8.1.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 8.2.
8.2 is second reading of ordinance number 9790-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida relating to the regulation of noise, amending Community Development Code, Article 3, Development Standards, Division 15, Property Maintenance Standards, Section 3-1508, Noise, amending the definitions of noise and public nuisances, amending persons responsible, providing an effective date.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 8.2?
Noise ordinance and people talking and using their First Amendment, Mike Taylor at Port St. Lucie. You know, That's the great thing about this country is that we have the ability to use our voices, you know, unless we're making threats or saying I'm going to do something bad to you or whatever, or, you know, acting out on those things. You know, who cares? I'm like, if the guy next door is playing friggin' at 2 o'clock in the morning and he's waking you up, yeah, maybe there's a noise ordinance, sure. But to sit there and say, because, you know, I've had I got put under, I was under, I think it was 3 months of investigation when I was on the beach, and they said it was disorderly conduct because of my voice and what I was saying. And now we come to today, the last meeting I was at in January of this year, and if anybody wants to talk about it, you know, you're more than welcome to just say, hey, we can stop investigating
Mr. Chairman, over
under,
here.
I'm sorry.
Thank
Well,
you.
the only reason is because
Thank
he's in charge of them.
We've been through this,
And
you know,
right, I know,
just because.
and my issue is that I'm 9 months under investigation from the January 19th meeting. A disorderly conduct because because of words that I said.
I understand we're talking about the noise ordinance.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Because of the words that I said, because I raised, and now you want to make an ordinance that says, oh, because you raised your voice and you said something that I didn't like or whatever, it was so scary. I'm a YouTuber that, why would I record all this stuff to do something that's going to get me put in jail? What would be the point in that? There is no point. You know, for somebody that's not the YouTuber that has 207,000 subscribers, I do my best to make sure I stay myself out of trouble. I do my best. But my words and me raising my voice because I'm frustrated, or there's some guy, he's yelling and screaming at my wife or my daughter because of something, and I have to raise my voice back at him and say, hey, calm down. You want to put an ordinance out there for that? Or whatever? No. We have a right to speak here in the United States. You know, as long as we're not making threats and we say the F word in a building with people in it, I'm not going to say that F, you know, not the F bomb, but the other, you know, you can't say that in buildings. You know, I'm not here to hurt anybody. You know, you might look at me like I'm some scary guy. I'm not. I'm the nicest guy you ever meet. So if you guys want to go get pizza after this, on me. On me. All right.
Anyone else desire to speak to agenda item 8.2?
Dr. Sean Berry. All ordinances should have a constitutional carve-out for our rights. You know, exigency, you know, if we have an emergency, we should be able to shout fire in a crowded building, which is, everybody says you shouldn't do. You know, if there's a fire, shout fire, warn everybody, you know. If your dog barks, you know, I can understand at certain hours, you know, that we should have, you know, a little bit of rest in the evening, whatever, you know. But as far as our rights, there should be a constitutional carve-out for our rights. All right.
It's, you know, we're not talking about that tonight. This is about parties and bothering your neighbors after hours, just so everybody understands. I don't know if you had a chance to read the ordinance or not, but it has nothing to do with any of that. So thank you, though, for sharing your thoughts. And anyone else desire to speak to agenda item 8.2? Hearing none, is there any council discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 8.2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, agenda item 9.1.
Evening, Mayor, council members. Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. So from the North Beach standpoint, they had finished the Benthic survey that was out there, which was good news. When we got the report in, they had the meeting with Army Corps of Engineers. Army Corps of Engineers did come back and say, as long as we're not doing water out into the intercoastal areas, that we do not have to pull the full ERP permit, which could be a rather lengthy, upwards of a year process. So that was huge news to hear all of that. So that was a good win for our North Beach pumps and moving forward. some of the other pieces that we've been working with them a little bit, trying to get ways that we can start to pull some of the cost back, but also make things more reliable out there. Is they did complete some of the modeling that we were trying to look at interconnecting a couple of the laterals out there, so we get some redundancy off of the pumps. We also think we may be able to reduce the number of pump stations out there out of this. So that was all good news coming out of that modeling. So at this point, they've done some of that, and we're going to get ready to be able to step into more of the design effort. So a couple of good wins this last week, so that was nice. So that was all I had. If there's any questions.
Very good. Any questions from the council? Councilmember Cotton?
I just have one question. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate these updates. Would it be in our benefit to still add maybe one additional pump station, even though the modeling doesn't show it, just to be prepared
We'll go
in the
through and
future?
do all of that, because that's what we want to look at, is make sure what's the, there's a number of different factors that's out there with how much easement space we have and all of that. But we definitely want to make sure we've got adequate redundancy. The plan's already to do dual pumps in each wet well, so there'll be one pump that would be redundancy to begin with, and then the idea being if we lost one of those pump stations, that the other ones could pick them up. But we will absolutely look at all that, because we don't want a single point of failure starting to bring anything down out there.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you. I move to agenda item 10, city attorney reports.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Agenda item 11.1.
Okay, Mayor, we put a pause on public comments on agenda items, on comments on items not on the agenda over a month ago. It's going to run through and terminate beginning in November. We have one meeting in October, so I wanted to bring up just to say, let's go ahead and extend the pause on this. We're not making any decisions on permanently doing away with public comments on items not on the agenda, but pause it till the beginning, at least the first meeting in January, which will give us a chance to go ahead and talk about this and see if we're putting a permanent pause on it, or if we give us a little more time to talk about it. So I wanted to bring that up and see what the rest of the council thought of that, and if they would be for a continued pause, at least to the beginning of the new year.
Well, we discussed this at work session yesterday, so I think we've already discussed it in large part. So at this time, I'd like to invite the public to speak to agenda item 11.1.
I'm Mr. Haluba, and as I told you, I spoke to all the ladies of the Daughters of Revolution that were here earlier for their proclamation. They were very surprised that there was a pause done on, public comment on items not on the agenda. It's a fundamental right. In fact, they gave me this booklet. On the back, it says, as I said before, but it's been a little while now, get to know the most important legal document ever created. And I would have to, agree with that. It doesn't matter the fact that, anybody, any government official doesn't like the message that someone might give, or you don't like the way that it's delivered, or you don't like how they're dressed. None of that matters. As I said, sent to you, Mr. Albritton, the entire reason for the First Amendment is exactly to have a place to vent feelings to the government. It's designed to rile the government up. It's any attempt to curtail those freedoms is in violation of the U.S. Constitution. And that's what you're all gonna do tonight. Unless, you know, two of you have changed your mind, and I don't see that happening. And calling it a temporary, you know, pause in public comment doesn't do it justice. That's not what it is. It also doesn't say in here if it's okay to pause people's rights temporarily. That's against the U.S. Constitution. So I would imagine that you're going to vote to do this tonight. It's a violation of the Constitution. Moreover than that, it's a violation of every one of your oaths that you've taken to become a public official. It's wrong.
Anyone else desire to speak to this agenda item?
My name's Mike Taylor. I'm from Port St. Lucie, Florida. I drove 4 hours just to talk about this because I was waiting for October. And, you know, I don't know what you got going on, Cotton. I do want to say, Mr. Cotton, I do appreciate the phone calls that we've had. Mr. Rector, I appreciate the conversations that we had. The biggest problems that I have are any one of you that has said that they would defend our rights and they would stand up for our rights. Mr. Menino, you said that at the, I think it was the Doug Kelly show or whatever it's called. You were like, oh, we'd stand up and we've got the guy that comes from 4 hours and he, yes, I come from 4 hours because I care about the Constitution. I care about what has happened to me in this city. It's happened to me in my own city, and I've done the same thing. But you know what they've done? They listened and they've moved on. This has only been happening since before 3 of you got up here. This has been ongoing since Unc's days. And here you are doubling down, tripling down now, because I already can count the 4-to-1 vote. I know who's not voting for this. And I commend that person because guess what? They are standing on their oath. You know, anybody that's ever taken an oath, your oath never dies. My family, just about all my family, except for me, I didn't get in the military, but I stand behind those same oaths. I've got my grandfather's flag when he got buried. I stand behind this Constitution, and for some reason, none of you care about it. Texera, I got a big problem with you too, because you're so scared. Do you know they wanted to try to charge me $348 for all these scary and blah, blah, blah emails? Just give them to me. Put them out there. Put them on your website. Let's see what's so scary about all this stuff that's being said. I'm not the one that's scaring you. You know, just because I got all this stuff on. You're scared of this. I don't bring guns in here. You know I have guns. I'd go carry my guns on the beach before I brought a gun into here. But every one of you, and especially you, Slaughter, I mean, just about everyone up here, and the one person I'm going to give a lot of credit to is Cotton. Because out of all the stuff you've heard today, you're going to hear one person tonight say no. I got to take this thing off. It's heavy. It's like 40 pounds. Yeah, I don't give a flying fudge. I don't. It doesn't bother me to wear this shirt and say,
Thank you. Your time's up, man. Your time's up. And we get emails from Switzerland calling us that every day, so it's like, it's nothing
send me
new.
the email.
It's nothing new. It's your folks who follow
Send
me.
me.
Thank you. Your time's up. Anyone else desire to speak to this agenda item?
Hi, my name's John. Happy Constitution Week, which is pretty crazy considering it seems like only 20% of the council actually understands the Constitution. Why public comments are essential in city council meetings. The public comments are the heartbeat of a democratic republic in action. When residents are given the opportunity to speak at city council meetings, they bring vital perspectives that reflects the needs, concerns, and ideas of the community. These comments ensure transparency, hold elected officials accountable, and foster a sense of trust between government and the people it serves. By listening to the voices of the public, city council can make informed decisions that better reflect the diverse interests of the entire community. Public comments aren't just a courtesy, they are a fundamental right and a necessary element of good governance. When city council silence the public, it often insinuates several negative things. Lack of transparency, silencing public comments can suggest the council is not interested in open, transparent governance. It creates the perception that they may be hiding decisions or actions from the public. Disregard for public input. It implies that the council does not value or prioritize opinions, concerns, or the needs of its constituents. This can lead to feelings of disenfranchisement among the public. Avoidance of accountability. By silencing the public, the council may seem like they are trying to avoid being held accountable for their decisions or actions, suggesting a lack of willingness to address criticism or tough questions. Erosion of trust. This can foster distrust between the public and their elected officials, as it appears the council is acting unilaterally, unanimous, or with little regard for the democratic process. Authoritarian tendencies. In extreme cases, it would be interpreted as an attempt to control, suppress free speech, which raises concerns about the council's commitment to democratic principles and individual rights. Silencing the public not only damages the council's credibility, but also weakens the democratic process by cutting off a key avenue for civic engagement and oversight. You guys claim this is Constitution Week, and the only person I know that voted against an unconstitutional, whatever you call it, is Mr. Cotton. Are you guys telling me the four of you don't believe in free speech? You don't believe in the Constitution? We know Stiff doesn't because he arrested somebody for speech. We know he doesn't because he assaulted somebody for speaking. And I believe one of his bosses or the higher-ups just got busted for drug dealing. Do anybody in government besides Mr. Cotton know, understand, have read the Constitution? Doesn't seem like it.
Does anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 11.1?
Vote the right way.
Are you doing that, council? Dr. Sean Berry, the very first amendment of our Constitution guarantees 5 elements of freedom. Petition's probably the biggest thing we need here to protect. You know, we have freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, but freedom to petition our government is what you, ladies and gentlemen, should be concerned about. A temporary pause on our freedom. You know, how temporary? One session, one month, you know, one pause, leads to 2 pauses, leads to 3 pauses, leads to no freedom. You know, you can just ban it, you know, just arbitrarily. You know, our First Amendment is everything. All of our other amendments hinge on the First Amendment. And if this council wants to go against the grain of Brandsburg v. Hayes, you know, all of the Justice Roberts, all of his headway he's made in the last few years, you know, you just mentioned before about, you know, you've got to be careful what you say in this day and age, you know, about certain keywords, trigger words. You know, if you start putting too many constraints on free speech, you're just going to end up with you know, totalitarianism. That's the way it begins. You know, our freedom of press, our freedom of speech, freedom to redress, freedom of religion, freedom to assemble. Those are all sacrosanct to us, you know. So if this council can reconsider their pauses on our free speech, you know, and kind of go with Brandsburg, you know, our founders never, you know, go with Brewing and Heller and, you know, all these new rulings of our free speech, I mean, of our rights should not be infringed. All right. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you. Does anyone else here desire to speak to the agenda item 11.1?
I appreciate you all sticking around. Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Margolis, Ms. Boyer. My name is Rudy Michaelek, and with regards to this point, I am recommending that you do not extend it. And I call your attention back to the day when this first occurred, which was actually caused by agitators and disruptive people who came into the session during that open session and continually, meeting after meeting, caused trouble and incited the public. And at that time, Mr. Margolis put forth a resolution suggesting that maybe for that open period, what we simply needed to is have citizens of Clearwater who have a lot of issues that may not be on the agenda, bring those forth by having sort of a clearinghouse, if you would, that in fact they were citizens and they would be able to speak during that process. Now, my other colleagues here, I guess I'll call them that, made the point very clearly tonight. We went through every single consent agenda, which I say to you is not going to change whether you have that little open session all the way at the end of the meeting or not. They're still going to come, they're still going to talk to every item, and having read several of the items down here, it was very clear that they really did not know what several of the points were about. So I would suggest that you consider, once we get to the time period of December, I believe it is, just really dropping this off. And if we need to institute certain policies with regards to inappropriate behavior, we do that for the council meeting and still allow citizens of the community to be able to address issues that don't come up in the topic. And by example, I would point out, in the work session, you talked about the ability of people to come to the council members, to send emails, visit, call, have private meetings. And I would point out to you that Chris and I did come to several of the council members back in July and asked about a very specific issue. And I would share with you that we heard a response from only one council member after that session. And therefore, the opportunity for us to share these points with the council and have maybe that discussed within the general is by having this open session that allows us to come forth. So, by example, we have had, with regards to the chart house by us, several provisions that were right in the developmental order that the city said, thou must do such and such, or this is what happens to the developer. Well, the developer didn't meet that, but nothing was done because the constant answer out of planning is, well, they're working on it. Now, almost 3 years later, they still haven't completed all of the items for their permit. And yet, the consequences, which is, then you don't get the permit, you got to start over. Well, they didn't start over. I thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 11.1? Seeing none, council discussion. Councilmember Cotton?
So I'll start this off real quick because I do believe in the Constitution that was alluded tonight, especially with freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and redressing government, which are in your core 5 of the First Amendment. With that being said, I do have to acknowledge when we see, especially in the past week, a former president that has been targeted twice for assassination attempts because of rhetoric that has been spewed by mainstream media, in my opinion. You guys don't know the people on the other side of the screen. You're putting a video out there. I don't know what it is, what's being edited. Do I think that any of you in this room, I would believe that nobody in here is going to harm anybody. I take you for your word. You don't know who's watching from the other side of the screen that's taking your words and then is going to come and do something. So that's when I tell, Mr. Haluba, please articulate better when you're choosing to use verbiage. So, again, people will choose what they want. So that's where I'm coming from on this. I still will back the Constitution, but there's danger, right?
Look, guys, I gave you guys a chance to talk. I'm just asking you to help us resolve it. You guys have been here a long time, you have to, so you all have had a chance to say anything. Let us talk about it, okay? And we'll not have a dialogue back. Afterwards, Feel free to have dialogue, but let's move it on. So, thank you. Anybody else on the council? Vice Mayor?
Okay, so I know I put this extend the pause on the agenda to talk about it. The feedback that I've gotten from our citizens that live in Clearwater, we've all got a lot of thank yous for this because, well, first of all, there were a lot of citizens that were afraid to come to council meetings to actually speak because of the antics of you guys. If you would come and just talk, and if you had an issue, like free speech wasn't taken away today, you guys talked on every issue. Every one of them you took off. So don't tell me that you guys don't have free speech. Okay, listen, I'm just, let me
We're not
talk.
having an argument, just let him talk. Okay?
What I don't want to do, and I'm a big advocate of free speech, First and Second Amendment rights. We'll see. Okay? So don't tell me that we're not. We're just trying to do something that will help expedite meetings for our citizens here that feel threatened when they come and put up with the antics that go on. So I'm going to probably change my mind on this just for what I've seen tonight. I don't know if I'm going to want to extend the pause past November. Maybe we should just let it die out and let people like Rudy that needs to come in here and feel like he needs to talk to us and other citizens. But what I'm going to ask you guys, just help us move these meetings along in a way without being like a circus. That's what threatens people. And so we're up here hearing from our citizens that live here. I know you drive 4 hours, which I don't really understand exactly why. And you mention, you talk about every agenda item that you have no idea about to waste time. I understand that because you're videotaping all of it. And that's the whole idea, is to waste time and make it inconvenient for us and everybody that's watching. So if we just put the citizens, as far as I'm concerned, if we put it back on and let the citizens determine if it's, but if you guys would just not put on the circus, if you have things to say, we'll listen to it. All right, that's my thoughts. So maybe I'll withdraw this. I'm just going to want to hear from the rest of the council members here and what they feel.
Councilmember Sharon.
So, in attending all the events that I go to, in the last few weeks, a lot of the rhetoric or a lot of the conversations I've had actually surprised me. And they were, thank you. Thank you for doing something, because people who were, and I like to call them regulars, are not here tonight. They're not here tonight because they knew you guys were coming. And so I want to speak for the people who are not here whose voice they feel is confined. Your behavior, whether you agree or not, make other people uncomfortable. When you tell an elderly couple to F off, it makes them uncomfortable. And so I have to listen to those people who actually live in here.
Guys. Hey, look, are you going to disrupt the meeting or are you going to? It's not that hard, okay? It's not that hard.
hard to sit here and let you say why.
If you're not gonna listen, you had your chance to talk, then please leave, okay?
Maybe.
We listened to you, now it's your time to listen to us. Well, are you gonna keep disrupting the meeting or not?
She's gaslighting me. Instead of gaslighting me.
Are you gonna continue to disrupt the meeting or
I'm the
not?
one that's the problem?
Are you gonna?
I'm not the problem. You, Texera.
If you don't want to stay,
Margolis, Call, Slaughter.
recess, please. Let's go to recess.
Handy.
Call the meeting back to order, and we're discussing agenda item 11.1 and council discussion. So, Councilmember Tickshare?
Yes, so as I was saying, I wanted to convey what has communicated to me through various events that I've attended in the last few weeks. And there are those citizens who were not comfortable with the situation that happened before. And their voice is just as important as yours. Freedom of speech goes both ways, even if you don't like what I'm saying. There have been people who used to come and do not come because they feel uncomfortable. Whether you agree with that or not, see, and that's what I'm talking about. That person who feels uncomfortable, the way they feel is just as valid as you. Anyway, what I'm trying to...
You said you're not going to interrupt her, okay? So, all right.
What I'm trying to say is to look at both sides. And I have to listen to both sides. And there are a lot of citizens who agree with the decision that we've done and have asked for an extension. That's all I'm doing, communicating from those voices.
Other council discussion?
Yeah, thank you.
Councilmember Menino.
I too have great respect for our Constitution, respect for our citizens having their voices heard. We went over this, we've almost beat this issue too many times and had too far of discussions with it, but I think it's important to recognize, as we did yesterday, what we've done as a staff, and I thank staff for it, regarding being out in the community more often, putting processes and protocols in effect in our neighborhoods and our neighborhood associations to make sure that our citizens' voices are being heard, that they feel respected. I think we've done I commend council on the job and the work you've all done at answering emails, answering phone calls. We've all signed up, put our name on the line and said we will show up to any HOA meeting if anybody wants us to be there. Neighborhoods Services is at every single meeting. We now have processes in place where they give us detailed updates of every single neighborhood meeting that all of you read, and all of you have reached out and followed up with citizens from those meetings that had concerns, so I commend you on that. I'm going to support an extension on this till January, first week in January, as was alluded to in the beginning, and the reason why is what's been in front of us today. And unfortunately, the pattern of behavior shows us that the group shows up, we're somewhat model citizens to get through an agenda, and so that you can speak and create content at every level possible. The second we get close to the end and closing it, we blow up and cause some big scene, have people escorted out, interrupt the meeting, obstruct business, or storm out cussing and ripping vests off our chests just to close the show and create more content. And that's been a pattern of behavior since my first day sitting in here. And I think that's unfortunate, because the individuals that have to pay for that are the Rudys and the Chris's and the Mr. Jonesons and the people that want to show up and have their voice often heard. You two are here, but we hear constantly and weekly from our citizens that say, thank you for pausing, and we are not coming back to City Hall, unfortunately, until the obstruction stops. We just saw a group of, are you auditors? Is that the group that we're called? I see your shirt says it. Okay, but I know we're a group called the Auditors, and your shirt says it that you're proudly wearing today. We just saw a group of auditors assassinate a Dallas police officer, operating in the same method with cameras, shouting the same rhetoric that you do. And the last thing we ever want is to see that spin off in our city of Clearwater to our residents, to our staff, or to this council. At the end of the day, it's about safety. It's about safety of our residents. It's about safety of our staff, in my decision about safety of this council. And so that we can handle the business of the people without constantly going through a charade and being obstructed, I will support extending the pause on this agenda item 11.1 until the first week of January meeting.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'll say a couple things. Number one, eliminating one agenda item has absolutely nothing to do with the Constitution. There is no constitutional right to an agenda item. This is a business meeting, and we're not limiting anybody's right to come in and speak on an agenda item. In fact, tonight, you've demonstrated everybody who's wanted to speak on an agenda item has done so. No one's had their rights limited. We've simply removed or paused an agenda item, and we're not even required under Florida law, the United States Constitution, to even have that agenda item. We have traditionally had it. People have come in and they've been able to offer comments or thoughts, as Mr. Michaelek has said, on items not on the agenda in a respectful way, not cause disruption. But we're not now, and we've never been required to do that. You don't have a constitutional right to come into a courtroom during a trial and just say, hey, judge, I want to say whatever. I mean, it's time, manner, and place. And certainly all of you, and you're recording a lot of this, you have a right to take whatever you want to post on Facebook and put your own voice to it. Folks write to us every day. Mr. Taylor writes to it. Mr. Haluba writes to us 3 or 4 times a day, reaches out to us. Many residents do, and we often reach out to everyone, I think, the first time they have a concern, whether it's grass is too high in the neighbor's yard or wherever, we reach out to those folks. We talk to them about the concerns they have that are not on this agenda. We respond, we talk to them, we have conversations, and that's the most effective way to get things done and get your message heard. In today's world, there are gazillion opportunities for you to speak, share your thoughts and opinions, ideas, share them with us. But this has absolutely nothing to do with the Constitution, your constitutional right. You have the constitutional right to say whatever you want to say about the city of Clearwater, about any of us, and many people do. Part of public service, I get it. I don't like everything that's said about me, and these folks don't either. It's a free world. That's part of the cost of being in public office. But in this forum, in this meeting, we're trying to conduct city business. And like the other council members, overwhelmingly, I got thanked on Pier 60 by someone Saturday who said, thank you for doing that. I feel like if I have an issue on the agenda, I'm a lot more comfortable in coming, knowing that there aren't going to be folks showing up without any relationship to what's on the business item and speaking. They feel like during this period of time when we've had all these disruptions, like the one we had at the beginning of the night, several of you talked about the Daughters of the American Revolution, appreciate them, agree with you 100%. Constitution is the most important document in the United States, appreciate what they have done. With them here, with the National Suicide Prevention Month people, with the National Heritage, these folks should not have to endure the outburst, the protest that the gentleman with your group came and did at the beginning. That's outrageous. It makes everybody uncomfortable. I had to apologize to those folks because of that. Our citizens in Clearwater do not want to endure that. And they shouldn't have to. This should be an inviting, welcoming, safe place for them to come to talk about items on their agenda. It's our community, and overwhelmingly, the people in our community in this community are outraged by the behavior of folks coming in to do nothing but generate publicity for themselves, to generate YouTube clicks and subscribers, but any of it, none of this has anything to do with the Constitution. And you've shown tonight you can come in and, as you've done, talk about every agenda item, which is fine if that's what you want to come in and do. And the public, all of the public, whether you're a resident of Clearwater or not, has the ability to come and speak at the agenda items and always will, regardless of how we do this one agenda item on items not on the agenda. That will be open to everybody, and it's allowed under Florida law, and we will honor that. But I just wanted to share that, and I was for yesterday, considering this in October. We understand that Councilmember Cotton can't be here and he won't participate in this discussion here tonight. But I would be for whatever the council wants to do on this, pausing it now or waiting till the next meeting to pause it. I can tell you that my experience over 2 months, it's not kept anyone from sharing their opinions with us. No one, not one person. The Michaelics came, talked to all of us. That was much more effective than coming to the podium, meeting with each of us individually and sharing your thoughts than coming to the podium and not meeting with us and sharing your thoughts. So whether or not you're happy with the response or not, those meetings were more effective than coming here and talking to us and having a conversation one-on-one. And I can tell you a number of people have done that, and taking this item off the agenda has not stopped anybody. We get mails, as I mentioned, from certain citizens, 4 or 5 a day on issues that are not on here. And we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to respond. But that started this meeting tonight. That was unfortunate because all those folks in the room, they just love this community and city and are participating. They just wanted to come to a city council meeting, and they should not have to endure that. And since we paused this, we've not had as much of that as we did before. So it's up to the council, but I would be open to whatever your original proposal or whatever we want to do.
Yeah, and Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, I go back and forth on this. I don't mind anybody standing up there and disagreeing with me and telling me they don't like me. That's part of the job. Halub and I had a conversation after the meeting yesterday, and I said, we just have to agree to disagree. We can do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the American way. But the circus is what I don't want to see happen because it scares people away that really need to come in to talk to us about issues they have. So I'm not saying right now that we're doing away with it for good. I'm just said we're going to pause it to the beginning of the year. We got a lot happening. The city has a lot happening in the next month, and we won't have a chance to really talk about it as much as we should. So we're just going to extend the pause. I'd like to extend the pause to the beginning of the year, and then maybe we do away with it then and we go back to business as usual. If you will not come and make a circus out of it. You can get up here and tell me you hate me and I'm not doing a good job. That's fine. Just don't make a circus that scares everybody else away from here. That's what all of us want.
Okay, this time if we've done with discussion, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 11.1 and extend the pause for public comments on items not on the agenda until the first week of January meeting 2025.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
How about either like a date, like January 1, or the first meeting in January? Because you don't actually meet the beginning of January, you meet in the middle
First
of
meeting.
January.
I originally said the first meeting in January, whenever that is.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Got clarity on that? Good. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, that would be 4 in favor and Councilmember Cotton opposed. Okay. All right, next item, 11.2.
Mayor.
Yeah. Approve city attorney 2025 goals.
Mayor, I know we discussed this at length on the work session yesterday. I'm happy to answer any questions or take any feedback regarding proposed goals for next year.
This time, is there anyone from the public desiring to speak to agenda item 11.2?
Good evening once again. It is still Tuesday. My name is Rudy Michaelek. I am here again. I just want to say with regards to these performance goals, I think they're very well done and very well thought out. It's a very good first step in putting together measurable goals. But I would suggest a couple of things, and now specifically we're talking with regards to Attorney Margolis. For instance, his first goal is to conclude several litigations. But we don't know what several really is defined as. Is that 3? Is it 5? Is it 8? So I would just suggest that in terms of being a measurable goal, there be something more specific that says how many he's looking at as being his number. He does give a stated time of the end of the fiscal year. He talks specifically about litigation, so we know the specific label that he's talking about. And we know essentially the outcome he's looking to be measured by, which is that he's going to conclude several of these litigations. The only thing we don't know is what is several. With regards to his second goal, he's very specific there. He's talking about the Nunzio real estate purchase and the city's active collective bargaining. Very specific items, very specific timeline by the end of the fiscal year. The only thing he's not been given or that he has to work with is what is the fundamental dollar amount, if you would, or percentage amount that he's going to be required to meet by the council. Because, for instance, he may be able to get an agreement of collective bargaining, but they may want 8%. And is the city council going to provide the opportunity for him to have the 8%? So those are just a couple of suggestions I would throw out in terms of making goals more measurable, but I think it's a great first step. Thank you very much.
Anyone else desire to be heard on agenda item 11.1? Excuse me, 11.2. Okay. Any council discussion?
I just wanted to clarify that it, in the work session, I know it says it in that first paragraph 2 different times. It identifies a number of 7 contracts and litigations, and it did say, you did say in the work session that with respect to litigation and not naming clients or plaintiffs or the other side of you have to go that route, and you can't just drop a list down of every litigation that you're in the middle of with names. Is that correct?
Good. Well, I mean, first of all, I appreciate Mr. Michaelik's thoughtful feedback. We did say a couple of times in the attachment that we're focusing on 7 particular cases. I know the council, through one-on-one meetings, is familiar with each of those cases. There's no real mystery. Obviously, the council, the manager, and I, we talk about these cases all the time. But it would be unwise, I think, for me to name them individually. I could, but then that would signal to opposing counsel, what we're focusing on. That would probably put taxpayers at a disadvantage. So I think it's best, just from a strategic standpoint, to continue to have that conversation through one-on-one. But there are 7 in particular that have my highest attention right now. So litigation's part of government. I don't think we're ever going to fully get away from it, but there are 7 cases that are top of my mind for this coming fiscal year. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the goals?
I make a motion to approve agenda item 11.2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Agenda item 11.3. Approve the city manager 2025 goals.
Yes, Mayor, Council, we had a conversation about this yesterday. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 11.3?
Again, it's Rudy Michaelik, everyone. And by the way, I was not suggesting that he list the specific litigations. I was referring only to the label several is all. Once again here, I think Ms. Poirier has done a terrific job. You can tell what her background is, because I had to really work to try to find something here to talk about on these. But the couple of things that I wouldn't mention is sometimes is the absolute outcome of a goal. For instance, under the very first, working with shareholders to create and improve economic opportunities, she's very specific about the comprehensive plan. She does reference, though, a conceptual plan later on in the document. So I'm sort of assuming that they really mean one and the same thing in terms of that. She talks about the fact that many of these cover several years, and so forth. She's going to have strategic milestones in order to be measured by during the review period. All of those things tie in very good. She talks about the need to fill key positions to create a cohesive team, but there is no number associated with that. So that would be my one suggestion, that maybe it needs to describe a number in order to get the work done. The implementation of the strategic plan, again, is laid out very well. The budget needs to be resolved, which leads in strategic priorities, how that goes from the 1 year to the next year, the planning sessions by January, followed by the budget then presented the following, by July, with the strategic priorities. So once again, she goes down very specific to the things that need to be done, when they need to be done, how they need to be done. I was just looking for a dollar amount, because I'm sure there's a dollar amount associated with trying to get all those things done. And the goal number 3, again, was by providing transparency and accountability, was using the dashboards, which what has been provided so far is just really very good for the community at large to be able to see those, that there will be additional ones, that they will talk about such things launched on our website, having to do with pay and class plan and so forth, which goes to turnover and the number of vacancies that we have. Because the key for the city to be successful is you've got to have qualified people in all those different positions in order to see that they can accomplish the goals she's put forward. So I just throw out those suggestions. I had to come and say something because I love this stuff so much. Thank you.
Anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 11.3?
I'm Mr. Haluba. I think the city manager is not doing her job very well at all.
Speak to the goals, if you would, please.
Goals? What goals?
Well,
All that's in her plan is she refers to her strategic plan over and over again. That hasn't worked. There's a lot of word salad gibberish in there. She's very good at that. Maybe if that's her goal, she's there. Utility expenses, that should be addressed. They're too high. There's so many things going on that seem to be over her head. Number 1, she is responsible for the police department. Don't hear a word about it. You know, as I've said before, either she won't or she can't get the police department under control. And that's a big problem. Especially since we have a former police chief as de facto city manager. I didn't see anything in there that you know, impressed me. When you have somebody put in a position that didn't go through the prescribed procedures in the city charter, then this is what we get. Somebody has to be handheld, somebody that has to learn on the job, somebody that's not up to the job. The turnover rate in Clearwater for employees is way too high. That is absolutely part and parcel, you know, a residual effect of her being personnel manager. A lot of people don't like her. I don't like her.
Speak
I don't
to
like
the goals, please. Yeah.
I don't. Her goals are gibberish. They don't mean a thing. Turnover rate is too high in Clearwater. That's not our goals. She doesn't mention the police department, doesn't mention anything about anything really. Just strategic plan, strategic plan, strategic plan. Well, I haven't seen much of that work out. So, do I think she should be rated highly? Absolutely not. She is a, you know, but Ms. Texera will do it. That's her girl.
Anyone else desire to speak to agenda item 11.3?
Mayor, Council, this is exciting.
No.
I haven't had this much fun, at least all night.
No.
Performance goals and what you're getting ready to implement is what the Florida League of Cities taught in management sessions year after year after year. And, oh, by the way, I'm still Bill Johnson. And now, this is the best change in governance in the city of Clearwater in at least 25 years, to have all of you consistently rating against a standard format for your 2 employees. And it's not because we want to criticize them. It's that we want to have the council working together for the benefit of the citizens going forward. So cue the brass band, drop the balloons, let's celebrate this governance process. The process was recommended by the last two charter review committees, so great. Looking at the 3 goals that are proposed, I understand goal 1 and goal 2. Goal 3 seems to be a combination of important internal operation issues, like the pay in the class plan, the succession planning, the executive leadership, and the implementation of dashboards. Yet you might want to tweak this more to a service delivery outcomes for your customers, the businesses, the visitors, and the residents. Some delivery dashboards might include reducing the building department permitting process so that there's not as many second review comments that coming forward at that second point. The tracking and minimizing the number of wastewater overflows year to year. Accomplishment of the FEMA CRS level 4 in the next review cycle. That's one that's really important to the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition. Sidewalk repair turnaround, proactive code enforcement, valuing citizen factual observations in the development review cycle, urban canopy, citizen survey, for instance. I've reviewed the dashboards that you've already got on there, and I've put together a summary of them and showed a comparison year to year, and I'll share this with you, and I'd be happy to talk this with you individually later. Thank you.
Does anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 11.3? Seeing none, is there any council discussion? None? I just want to say, we, city manager and I talked this morning about, this is a new process for her, city attorney, for the council. And in some ways, it's been good that it has, to Mr. Johnson's comments, got us kind of focused as a council and given both of them feedback on what we expect from them. I think that conversation has been good. It's been a little bit difficult, though, for us to, as you just described, a couple of you just described, on each of their goals, because in city attorney's case, he can't be very specific, because that would jeopardize our ability to effectively negotiate and settle and litigate cases. So he has to be very careful in how he phrases his goals, because it could put the city at a disadvantage in a lot of our litigation. That said, we talked about, and I talked about yesterday, about cost savings, and he's had some ideas for his department and how they administer and operate his department are certainly things that we want to keep going. But his area is very fluid. It changes from time to time based upon needs, legal needs of the city, and obviously fluid. City manager, she and I talked this morning, her role, very, very fluid. I mean, she, first month or so, inherited the recycling challenge. And so there are things that come up continually in her role that, to remind the public, both of them meet with all 5 of us every week. And we really talk about weekly goals, monthly goals every week. And throughout just the 6 months, we've three of us have been up here. Those conversations change from week to week and month to month. I mean, different things that we're trying to address and progress we're making. So to try to talk about an annual goal is really challenging. Been challenging for the five of us to get our minds around it, but been challenging for them too to communicate with them and try to put it into this new structure. So appreciate again what I said the other day, both of you working with us to try to figure that out. And the council working with each of them to try to get this, because it was a learning process for all of us. And I'd say awkward just because of what I just described, that very similar to the city attorney. The city manager helps us negotiate lots of things that are good for the city. And if she gets too specific about some of those things, it puts the city at a disadvantage in negotiating some things that we want to accomplish and do for the benefit of the citizens. So I just wanted to share that, and again, thank both of them for the time they put into helping do this. Prior council approved this, so we're inheriting what the prior council approved. Recognize what Mr. Johnson said earlier about the charter review committees asking for this in previous years, and so we certainly respected that and wanted to try it, but it was awkward to do this and took some time, and I appreciate both of them doing that. So with that, if there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve agenda item 11.3.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Move to item 12, closing comments by council members.
I'll be quick, as we're all probably a little exhausted, but just a couple things. Wanted to let council know that this week was very enjoyable. We got a lot of things done, and we disagreed on a handful, and I just wanted to commend all of you on how disagreements or opposing thoughts are handled, and it wasn't handled in such a manner in the past. I know I didn't sit on this dais. I'm sure a couple of you could speak to that more than I, but I just wanted to say that it was a pleasure going through some of those disagreements, and I thank you all for the respect and your ability to handle those opposing thoughts. Tonight there was a handful, when you pull every single agenda item off and speak to them, there was a handful of things that were said that were very critical of our leadership team and staff. In my words to you two, as well as to the 1,800 staff members, will be that this council has the utmost faith in our leadership. We believe in not only your leadership, but we believe in every department in our city. We will continue to work hard as a council and as staff to be better and to be brighter. And I know we all know we have room for that, and we're all committed to growing. The last thing I would want to say is to Chief Gandy and your entire police department, your men and women. This council believes in you 100%, believes in the men and women that serve this city. We are blessed in this community to have community policing in the way that we do. So I thank you and all your men and women for their service in this city.
Okay, Council Member Cotton.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you all tackling on a tough subject tonight, allowing me to get my vote in. To those that are watching live or that are in the audience, I will not be able to make the next meeting, the only meeting we have in October, due to a business trip scheduling conflict. So I apologize for my absence there. But I look forward to, getting back from that trip and then getting back to business. And obviously I'll be here for our one-on-ones that we have until I leave. And then when we come back through October, we have Japan coming up. That'll be a very interesting trip. I look forward to getting some good work done while overseas. And I'll see you guys in November. So thank you all very much.
Councilmember Teixeira.
Okay, so I just enjoyed the last 2 weeks, especially celebrating great people doing great things. Different organizations and people are celebrating accomplishments, and they were really nice enough to invite all of us to attend. And so it's really good to see that. And I also look forward to celebrating Spanish Heritage Month. Look forward to all those events as well, and I wish everyone a good evening.
Vice Mayor Albright.
Well, we had some pretty good discussions tonight. I hope that it was a tough subject. We have been accused of wanting to do away with the Constitution and no, we don't believe in the First Amendment, and which I think all of us believe in that, or we wouldn't be sitting here. I mean, we all went through hard campaigns to get elected to represent the city that we love, and that's everybody in the city. I think that we do a pretty good job of getting emails and responding to people. I mean, today alone, I went 3 different people looking at 3 different problems in neighborhoods. And, people call me and I go. I mean, I don't need them to come in front of me on a council meeting. They're free to call me on my phone, and just like they are with everybody else here. The only thing that I oppose is the circus at the end, that is put on to make it a circus at the final minutes of every council meeting. In this case, it was the first minutes of the council meeting, but if people want to come up and talk and tell us they don't like what we're doing, I mean, I get a lot of emails that respond to that. And I get a lot of emails saying they like what I'm doing. So I take it just like everybody else does. You take it with a grain of salt. But I can tell you, my good friend J.B. Johnson, who was a councilman here for years, and he's passed away several years ago, he had the best saying, and I love J.B., but he says, we can disagree without being disagreeable. And if people would listen to that and understand that, that would go a long way to making the meetings go a little bit better. You can disagree with what we say, come up and tell us, but just don't be disagreeable about it. Don't make it into a circus. So I think that I don't know if what we said tonight will sink in, and I guess we'll find out next council meeting if that worked or not, but if it doesn't, we'll just continue on and as we've been doing. So that's it.
Well, I want to keep my, what I said the other day, Councilmember Menino said I want to keep my remarks appropriate for the moment and short, but I do want to just echo what has been said up here on this dais. And I said it earlier, when you run for mayor or you run for city council, you expect vitriol. You expect people to yell at you, to call you names. I mean, it's just part of our society today. If you're going to serve in elected public office, it comes with the territory. And you have to have some pretty thick skin and just expect it's part of it. People disagree with you nowadays. They're going to say hateful things and throw insults at you repeatedly. So we all signed up for that. I do feel for our staff. I feel for our many police officers, our firefighters, our public servants who, in those cases, first responders, risk their lives every day for us. And for them to be, and we get these mails and we see it, for everyone on our police force to be disparaged is insulting to me. And because we have some great people, not just on police and fire, but throughout the city. We have some great employees. And to see them treated the way some in the public treat them is unfortunate, and it's inappropriate. And again, you can call me, I think the 5 of us, whatever you want to call us, but I would hope our community and our city would be more respectful to our great staff, our police officers who serve this city, and regardless of how much you don't like them or whatever you feel about them and things they've done or not done in the past, they love this city, they love their jobs, and they're here every day working very hard to make it better. So I just wanted to share that, to echo the comments that were made by Councilmember Menino and the other council members. And I wanted to close on 3 things. First, we attended the 100-year anniversary of the Glenwood Estates neighborhood on Saturday, and just a great celebration of the history of Clearwater, seeing how that neighborhood has survived over all these years, and to see at the ceremony young families, 4 kids, cute as can be, holding the American flag and taking it very seriously that they're holding the American flag for the ceremony, but seeing families still flourish in that neighborhood 100 years after it was started was just a great experience for all of us. And I posted today on social media, that's one of a lot of great neighborhoods we have in Clearwater. Great cities have strong neighborhoods, and this council all knows that and wants to support our neighborhoods because we have a lot of great neighborhoods in Clearwater. Our Neighborhoods Day every year is very popular, and we look forward to celebrating that again within this spring. And then we have 3 events coming up that I just wanted to mention. One is we're going to welcome home some Olympians here next week. Bobby Fake, who's won gold medal at previous Olympics and won another gold medal this time. He'll be at an event here in Clearwater. And Noah Lyons, who finished in the top 10 in his first ever sailing division. And we're very proud of him too. Both of them grew up and practiced and are Clearwater natives, and we're very proud of both of them. Noah started Clearwater Sailing Center, and Bobby, I talked with his coach the other night, where he started here in Clearwater as well. Over at I think his coach is now at Cardwell, but he coached him here in Clearwater as well. So to see both of them aspire, and it'll be great to get together with all those Olympians that night. And then we've got, as we said, Hispanic Heritage Month. So there's a Roomba in Clearwater down in the park before our next meeting. That should be a great celebration of Hispanic culture, and hope we will have a lot of attendees to that. And then finally, the weekend before our next meeting is the Clearwater Offshore Nationals, our annual boat races, which is supported by the Tourist Development Commission, and we've got a lot of folks who from out the world that attend that event, and brings a lot of attention to Clearwater, and invite the public to come out and attend that event as well. So hopefully that's short enough for the moment, but things I just wanted to say. And if there's no other business to come before the council, then I will adjourn the September 17, 2024 meeting.